Douluo, the martial spirit of the Sharingan and the lightning fruit. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Conversation. After a lot of noise, Ning Rongrong was finally coaxed into a happy smile by Ning Fengzi and the other two. Seeing this, Ling Yu was actually quite puzzled. In this life, Ning Rongrong did not develop the temperament of a little witch in such an environment. Strange. Too strange. Everyone walked into the hall. Ning Fengzi and the two titled Douluo sat in the upper seats, and Ling Yu and Gu Yuna sat below consciously. Ning Rongrong glanced at Ling Yu and walked straight to his other side and sat down. This scene made the faces of the three people above become very subtle. Master Ning, I wonder what you want to talk to me about. Ling Yu picked up the teacup on the coffee table beside him and sipped it. What can't I say to my teacher? I actually have to talk to a junior like me. Ha ha ha. Ning Fengzi put his hands on the armrests of the chair and smiled. It's not a big deal. I just want to ask you what you think about the current situation. As he said, he wiped his soul guide ring, and a palm-sized dark blue deed appeared in his hand. This is what Uncle Jian got when he went to Hanhei City to clear out evil spirit masters some time ago and accidentally encountered a 50,000-year-old deep-sea demon whale. He killed it. Ning Fengzi threw the bead in his hand to the front. Ling Yu looked up and caught the blue bead. A wet feeling like the ocean came from his palm. This bead is called a whale bead. It is a very rare item. Uncle Jian was lucky this time. Otherwise, he might not be able to get this thing even if he killed thousands of deep-sea demon whales. Looking at the bead in his hand, Ling Yu could feel the strong soul power contained in the bead. This thing has been recorded in the history of our 7 treasures, glazed tile sect. It can greatly enhance the physical strength of a soul master, and it can even be of great help to mental strength. I believe you will definitely like this thing. Listening to Ning Fengzi's words, Ling Yu was even more confused. Then why didn't Sect Master Ning give this thing to Ning Rongrong, but gave it to me? After hearing Ling Yu's question, Ning Fengzi sighed and said, Rongrong is just an auxiliary soul master after all. Not to mention that if she wants to absorb this thing, her physical strength must first reach a level that is not weaker than that of a soul saint. What's more, even if Rongrong can absorb it, so what? After all, it can't increase her combat effectiveness. Ling Yu's eyes were still a little unconvinced. He didn't quite believe that the other party gave him the thing just for this reason. You know, even the Spirit Hall may not have such a good thing, and the 7 Treasures Glazed Tile sect is not without soul masters who can use it. Why give it to himself? Hey, I know you doubted my purpose of giving this thing to you. Ning Fengzi stood up and walked to the center of the hall, with his hands behind his back, saying, I won't hide it from you. Apart from Rongrong's decent talent, my 7 Treasures Glazed Tile sect has not found anyone who can take over the positions of Uncle Jian and Uncle Gu in the future, so you chose me. Ling Yu's face was a little strange. Are you crazy? I am the holy son of the Spirit Hall. What kind of daydreaming am I thinking? Is my danger not as good as before? Or is the treatment of the Spirit Hall bad? Of course not. Ning Fengzi turned around and looked at him. Since I know that you are the holy son of the Spirit Hall, I will definitely not do such a stupid thing. His eyes were a little serious. You are also very clear about the current situation on this continent. In the last conversation between the major sects and the Spirit Hall, the Pope of the Spirit Hall also made it clear who our enemies are. They are creatures from another world, and now the evil soul masters are still closely involved with them. It is very likely that we will be attacked from all sides in the future. Then, Ling Yu still asked, then why not give this thing to the soul masters above the soul saint in your sect? Even if their talents are not very high, they can increase their combat effectiveness. Sect Master Ning shook his head and nodded. I know your talent. I have known since 7 years ago that you are the owner of twin martial souls, plus your soul ring ratio. That's why they established you as the Holy Son when you were only 6 years old. At this point, he turned to look at Ling Yu with a sincere look in his eyes. You have such a strong talent, and your future achievements will definitely far exceed Uncle Jian and Uncle Gu, so it is not incomprehensible to invest in the future peak powerhouse, right? Ling Yu showed a look of realization on the surface, but only he knew what he felt in his heart. Why did Sect Master Ning let Rongrong go to Shrek at the age of only 11? Ling Yu took a sip of tea and glanced at Ning Rongrong beside him, and asked Ning Fengzi, don't tell me that you wanted her to go out and experience something. Although this reason is reasonable, it can't be so coincidental. As soon as I arrived at Shrek, Ning Rongrong followed and signed up. Hearing Ling Yu's question, Ning Fengzi looked at Ning Rongrong apologetically, and Jian Douluo and Gu Douluo on the side also showed unwillingness. I knew you were going to ask this. Actually, I didn't say anything just now. Ning Fengzi walked to Rongrong's side, held her hand, and said with a gentle look and guilty eyes, I know that my 7 treasures glazed tile sect will never surpass the spirit hall in the future, not to mention that you and the girl next to you are both here. I had no choice but to resort to this last resort. The situation on the continent is unpredictable. To be honest, when I listened to Bibi Dong's speech a year ago, although I didn't want to believe it in my heart, I knew that the other party would not joke about such things. Coupled with what happened recently, all this is foreshadowing that Douluo continent will usher in an unprecedented disaster. When he said this, Ling Yu already understood why he gave him this whale pearl. This was not something he had just obtained some time ago. Although this thing could not see the traces of time, Ling Yu had a sword spirit. He had just asked, and this pearl was indeed, as he said, a rare treasure, but it was at least a few hundred years old. In other words, Ning Fengzi picked this one out of the sect's treasure room for himself. Then, coupled with the reason why Ning Rongrong suddenly appeared in Shrek, everything was clear. When you were leaving Wuhan City and about to arrive at Soto City, I received a letter from the spy. I didn't mean to harm you, I just wanted to seek a future for the 7 treasures glazed tile sect, he said to Ning Rongrong, who was confused. Rongrong, I'm sorry, Dad lied to you. Ning Rongrong looked at him puzzled, but the other party said to Ling Yu again, Rongrong, as an auxiliary soul master. It means that her future husband must be a strong attack soul master, and must be a genius soul master. Only in this way can her future be guaranteed. Ling Yu stretched out his hand to interrupt him. I understand what sect master Ning means, but I'm sorry I can't agree to you. You should talk to the Pope about this, instead of talking to Junior like me. He held Gu Yun's hand and said, besides, I already have someone I like. Ning Fengzi's face became a little weird and said, I'm afraid there is more than one person around you. But I heard that Liu Erlong of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus sect has a very good relationship with you. Seeing that Ling Yu didn't say anything, Ning Fengzi continued, in fact, I understand that men have 3 wives and 4 concubines. I am the same. As long as you promise me that Rongrong will be the boss in the future, you can ask for whatever you want. Only then did Ning Rongrong understand what her father's real intention was. However, he did not blame his father because he had long been in love with Ling Yu. Instead, he was grateful and happy. She turned around and looked at the young man beside her with a blush on her face. How is it? Ning Fengzi hurriedly asked Ling Yu. What do you think? Rongrong's status and appearance are enough to match you. I don't ask for much. As long as the situation changes in the future, I hope you can look at Rongrong and let my 7 treasures glazed tile sect not break off its inheritance. Although Ling Yu was shocked that Ning Fengzi could do this, what really concerned him was the reason for this matter. Has the situation really become so tense now? Ling Yu said with a somewhat ugly expression. Otherwise, how could you do such a thing? Ning Fengzi's expression froze, and his eyes were somewhat angry and emotional. Since 3 years ago, our Kibaoliuli sect has successively captured some evil soul masters, and we have also noticed that the whereabouts of the evil soul masters have become somewhat strange and rampant recently. But who would have thought that in just 2 or 3 years, the opponent's strength has increased so fast? If it weren't for the timely arrival of several worshippers from the Wuhan Hall's worship hall and the support of the Pope Ibidong of the Wuhan Hall, my Uncle Jian and my Uncle Gu would probably have died. Ling Yu's face sank. What happened? Ning Fengzi glanced at him with a puzzled expression. Didn't your teacher tell you? Ling Yu also wanted to ask this question, why Ibidong didn't tell him. But soon, he understood that his current strength was still very weak in Ibidong's eyes. As her favorite, the current situation is so bad, she definitely doesn't want to be involved in this battle, at least not now. Chapter 127 Rejection. Ning Fengzi understood Ling Yu's expression when he saw it. He sighed. Half a year ago, our 7 treasures glazed tile sect was the first to find out that the area where evil soul masters appeared collectively was likely to be the far north. Uncle Jian and I went to verify it. Speaking of this, he showed a lingering fear on his face. That is indeed the base camp of the evil soul masters. As soon as we got there, 4 evil soul masters of the title Douluo level besieged us. Even with Uncle Jian's full effort and the assistance of my martial soul, we could only barely resist. Fortunately, After we persisted for half a day, the Pope of the Spirit Hall and the 4 priests of the Worship Hall arrived in time. After killing one of the other side's titled Douluo, the remaining 3 were helped by a 98th level evil soul master titled Douluo who appeared later, allowing them to save their lives and escape. Even if it is a 98th level titled Douluo, our 7 treasures glazed tile sect and the anti-evil soul master alliance are not afraid, but she walked to Ling Yu with an ugly and unwilling look on her face, and said loudly, "But this level 98 titled Douluo is called the 4th elder by the remaining 3. Ling Yu was shocked, and Ning Rongrong and Gu Yuna beside him were also shocked. Ning Fengzi said seriously, "This means that they have at least 1 level 99 extreme Douluo, and at least 3 level 98 titled Douluo, and several or even dozens of titled Douluo. And this does not include the enemies in the enemy plane. The evil soul masters alone are enough to bring us a devastating blow." Ling Yu could no longer keep a calm expression, and his face was extremely ugly. How could this be possible? The evil soul masters have been hunted down by the Spirit Hall. Logically speaking, their strength should not be so strong under such suppression and hunting, even if there are strong ones hiding, but there shouldn't be so many. Such strength even exceeds that of the Spirit Hall. Something must have happened during this period that he didn't know about. "Wu Feng, do you know what's going on?" Ling Yu asked the sword spirit in his heart. "Even if there are strong evil soul masters, there can't be so many. It's very simple, someone is helping them." Seeing that Ling Yu didn't quite understand, he explained, "As long as there are strong people to help, using their plane energy to help them improve their strength, this is not that difficult. Of course, because there are 2 planes after all, helping a soul master to reach the level of title Douluo consumes at least 10 times more energy than the Douluo continent." That means Ling Yu was a little surprised. The sword spirit continued, "That means even if they can create multiple title Douluo, because the distance between the 2 planes is too far, they haven't been able to open the transmission channel, and at most they can only create a dozen or 20 title Douluo. Otherwise, once they consume too much, it will have a great impact on the strength of their plane masters and emperors of various levels." Hearing the sword spirit's explanation, Ling Yu understood instantly, but even so, the current situation is still not optimistic. This move is obviously to let the evil soul masters serve as bait for the strong men of your continent, the sword spirit continued to say to Ling Yu. The purpose is to contain the strong men of your continent and prevent them from having the energy to find the specific location of their transmission channel, of course. This is also done for the God Realm to see. I guess since they have taken this step, the time and space turbulence is not far from descending on the God Realm. Otherwise, with the God Realm watching over their heads, they don't have the courage. "Hey, kid, since your girlfriend doesn't want you to get involved, you can just hide in the dark. Why don't you go find the transmission location of the Abyss Plane? Otherwise, if no one is looking for them, and they descend in large numbers, I don't know how many people on this continent will be devastated." Ling Yu nodded secretly with a serious look in his eyes. It seems that he needs to tell Danger about this matter. With the current alliance of major forces on the continent, it is still possible to deal with the evil soul masters, and he is in the dark. Since Danger doesn't want him to get involved, he will do as the Wu Fang sword spirit said and find a location where the Abyss Plane may descend. It seems that the Shrek matter needs to be ended as soon as possible, and he can use this as an excuse to coax them over. Ning Fengzi looked at the young man who had been hesitating beside him, and said again, "Little friend Ling Yu, I wonder what you think." "What do you mean?" Ling Yu raised his head blankly. "Are you talking about the situation on the mainland or the evil soul master?" Ning Fengzi's forehead had a few blue veins popping up, and his tone was still friendly. "It's about you and my daughter. You see, if there is no problem with this matter, how about we settle it?" Ning Rongrong, who was standing aside, buried her little face in her chest when she heard this, and her earlobes seemed to have turned into 2 cherries. This matter, Ling Yu pretended to be enlightened, looked at Gu Yuna who was smiling beside him, and said softly, "Master Ning, I appreciate your kindness, but there is no emotional foundation between Rongrong and me. We are just ordinary friends. I don't think I will agree to your request, but I can promise you that if I become stronger in the future, if I can still live to see that day, I will definitely protect the inheritance of the 7 treasures in the troubled times for the sake of our classmate Rongrong." Hearing Ling Yu's words, Ning Fengzi and the 2 titled Douluo sitting on the upper seat were about to get angry, but Ning Rongrong suddenly stood up with 2 tear marks on her face. "Ling Yu, I hate you." After saying that, Ning Rongrong hurriedly ran out of the hall, leaving behind only a faint fragrance and sadness in the room. You kid, Douluo walked in front of Ling Yu and said angrily, my Rongrong is as beautiful as a fairy. Her status is more noble than that of a royal princess. How can she not be worthy of you? You actually refused. Ling Yu did not speak, but just sat on the chair calmly, with a deep look in his eyes. Douluo also held up the 7-killing sword, and his fierce momentum completely enveloped the entire hall. Ning Fengzi's reaction was completely opposite to the two of them. Instead, he looked at the young man in front of him with some surprise. As smart as he was, he naturally knew that although what Ling Yu said was somewhat true, it was also somewhat false. It is definitely wrong to say that this kid has no interest in Ning Rongrong at all. No matter how you look at it, his daughter not only has a suitable personality, but also has a rare appearance in the world. It is difficult for such a girl to refuse a man if she likes him. But this kid not only refused, but was still so firm. Sure enough, I underestimated you. Although Ning Fengzi was a little angry in his heart, he looked at Ling Yu with deep appreciation at this moment. You are afraid that you might also be buried in this disaster, right? Ling Yu glanced at the elegant man in front of him, without saying anything, just picked up the teacup and drank a sip of tea. You need to ask the Pope of the Spirit Hall, Liu Erlong and Natter beside me about this matter, Ling Yu said expressionlessly. I know Natter will not refuse your kindness, but in this era, the catastrophe is about to come. I can't guarantee that I can completely protect the people around me. I can't guarantee that I will definitely survive this world war. Chapter 128 I'll wait for you. After hearing Ling Yu's words, Gu Yuna beside him held Ling Yu's hand a little tighter. Her eyes were a little red, but she didn't shed tears in front of outsiders. When Bone Douluo Gurong and Sword Douluo Chenzin heard Ling Yu's words, their majestic auras instantly subsided. The eyes they looked at Ling Yu were no longer so sharp, but since this kid made Ning Rongrong cry, they couldn't expect these two to treat him well. Ning Fengzi sighed deeply. Forget it, let's put this aside for now. I will discuss this with the Pope of the Spirit Hall when I have time. I know your worries. Even Uncle Jian and I almost lost our lives last time, not to mention you are now a soul sect. Jian Douluo snorted coldly. I don't care what your reason is. I just want to tell you that you shouldn't make Rongrong cry. Now we, the older generation, are still supporting us. As long as we are here, you future seedlings will not be harmed. We will give you enough time to grow up. Gurong's face was no longer so good and said, I don't care. If you make Rongrong cry, you must coax her. This is your responsibility. Ling Yu looked at the two ruffians speechlessly. Do you think you have to do this? The two titled Douluos are still acting here. But Ling Yu didn't refuse. It would be better to make it clear as soon as possible. Pulling Gu Yuna's hand, Ling Yu greeted the three people and chased in the direction of Ning Rongrong. Ning Fengzi and the two old men behind looked at the backs of the two and stood silently for a long time. Fengzi, have you decided on this boy? Chen Xin asked Ning Fengzi beside him softly. This boy is not a man who will live in peace. Although he is very strong and talented, he has many confidants around him. Haha. Ning Fengzi looked at the questions of the two old men beside him and smiled. Don't worry, this boy has a righteous heart. I can feel his strong sense of responsibility for this continent. To be honest, he can think so far at this age and has a strong sense of responsibility. I can rest assured to leave Rongrong to him. Gurong also nodded. This boy is very thoughtful. He is worried about this continent. Ling Yu, the current saint of the Spirit Hall, is a man who can accomplish great things. Although Chen Xin was still a little unhappy that the boy made Rongrong cry, he had to admit that a young man who was only 13 years old took the affairs of the country and the family very seriously. Such a sense of responsibility has left behind countless soul masters. Ling Yu took Natter's hand and followed Ning Rongrong slowly. Looking at the girl beside him, he smiled and said, Natter, why don't you say anything? As long as you open your mouth, I won't give Rongrong any chance. The girl shook her head, held the other's hand, and a perfect arc appeared at the corner of her mouth. Brother, Rongrong is a good girl, but whether to accept her depends entirely on whether you want to. I won't stop you from doing anything. Feeling the firmness and sincerity of the girl's feelings for him, Ling Yu couldn't help but sighed. Natter, it is really my greatest happiness to have you, Danger, Erlong, and seeing your sister accompany me in this life. To be honest, what virtue do I have, Ling Yu, to have such perfect and thoughtful beauties like you? His tone was a little emotional. Many times I feel that what I have done and what I have gained are not worthy. I just help many people who want to do but can't do it. And get things done. But the ones who really play a key role are still those vast soldiers, but I have gained the most benefits." Nair stopped, turned around and looked at the boy beside her seriously. "Brother, I don't allow you to say such things again. My brother is the most perfect person in the world, the most powerful person in the world. He will become the strongest one day, he will change the world, change the rules. He deserves all the good things." Ling Yu looked at the slightly domineering girl in front of him in astonishment, and couldn't help but stretched out his hand to pinch her tender cheek. "This is the first time that brother has heard Nair teach me a lesson." Nair laughed a few times. The two walked hand in hand to a small forest. Relying on his excellent martial spirit observation ability, he was able to accurately sense Ning Rongrong's position. Nair let go of his hand outside the forest and pointed to Ning Rongrong in front of Ling Yu. Without saying much, he rubbed her hair, walked into the forest, and sat next to Ning Rongrong. Hearing the movement beside him, Ning Rongrong looked up and saw that it was Ling Yu. Her eyes were happy at first, and then quickly returned to indifference. "What are you doing here? Are you making fun of me?" She pouted her lips and her cheeks bulged like a bun. "I don't have time for that." Ling Yu's first sentence made the girl angry. Wrong. Up. Hearing the young man call her like this for the first time, the anger in the girl's heart instantly disappeared, and she looked at him with a smile on her face. "You are a good girl," Ling Yu continued, "but, you know how urgent the current situation is. I don't even have time to reunite with Nair and the others in the future, not to mention your father's promise to marry you to me." He shook his head. "I'm not even sure I can survive in the end. What I can do now is to try my best to become stronger. I can only put aside the love affairs. Do you understand? Does this mean that he wants me to wait for him?" Ning Rongrong nodded with a bit of surprise on her face. Ling Yu didn't pay much attention to the girl beside him. He said again, "The war is about to begin. This is a war of life and death. If we win, everyone on the continent will live their previous lives. If we lose, everyone will become the other side's livestock and slaves. At that time, it will be difficult for you to die. In order to prevent this from happening, we have only one way, that is to keep getting stronger, and find ways to get stronger. If we can get stronger today, it is very likely that thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people will die less on the continent in the future." For the first time, Ning Rongrong's face showed admiration for the young man beside her. This was also the first time that the two had so many heart-to-heart talks. "So, I can only put this kind of thing aside. I don't have the time to do it now, do you understand?" Ning Rongrong stood up and looked at Ling Yu seriously. "I understand what you mean. I will wait for you, and I will work harder to become stronger. I won't be a burden to you." As he said that, he ran forward without looking back. Ling Yu was confused. Did she misunderstand me? Did I mean that just now? What do you mean? I asked her to wait for me? Wipe it. Gu Yuna held her forward and looked at Ling Yu, who was bewildered, saying, "Brother is really..." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Spy. Ling Yu took Nair to stay in Kibaoliuli sect for one night. The next day, Ning Rongrong's 12th birthday party began. This was also a gathering of major forces. The two Ju Douluo Yu Guan and Ghost Douluo Gui Mei from the Wuhan Hall would come in person. Ling Yu finished his training early in the morning, washed up, changed into a black and gold outfit, and walked towards the hall yesterday. As soon as he walked in front of the hall, the two beautiful figures of Gu Yuna and Ning Rongrong completely grasped Ling Yu's attention, and also attracted the attention of the surrounding forces and the children of the nobles. Nair was still wearing a silver long dress, but today she no longer let her hair fall down her back, but tied it into a beautiful bun. Her already beautiful and tender face was fully revealed. Ling Yu looked at Nair seriously for a few times, and had to say that such a person was very beautiful. Ning Rongrong was dressed more solemnly and gorgeously. After all, she was the protagonist today. She wore a pink dress inlaid with more than a dozen glittering precious gems. Her long legs were still wrapped in white socks. She also wore a pair of pink crystal shoes. Her hair was piled high like Nair, and she wore a very expensive pink diamond necklace on her white neck. At this moment, she showed her gorgeousness and solemnity to the fullest. With her outstanding temperament, Ling Yu had to admit that at this moment, Ning Rongrong was more generous than the princess of the royal family. Idiot, what are you staring at? Ning Rongrong saw Ling Yu looking at her and Gu Yuna in a daze, and then looked at the perfect demeanor of the young man today. A blush appeared on her face and she said, "Hurry up and go in. The guests are all here." After that, she took Natter and walked into the hall first, leaving only a beautiful back. Ling Yu laughed a few times and followed the two of them in with a gentle look. When the three appeared in the hall, Ling Yu's excellent eyesight allowed him to distinguish the various forces instantly. The Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect sent Yu Luomian, his future father-in-law. The moment he saw Ling Yu walk in, Yu Luomian was talking with Ning Fengzi with a smile. When he saw him, his face froze. His eyes were full of scrutiny, as well as a bit of surprise and relief. He naturally knew that his daughter had been a virgin for more than 30 years and had always refused the introduction of the family. Who would have thought that the brightest flower of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect would be won by this teenage boy? Ling Yu just smiled and nodded at the other party, and looked away. Yu Guan and Gu Imei of the Spirit Hall were standing next to Jian Douluo and Gu Douluo at this time, and the four of them were also talking about something. Seeing Ling Yu following Ning Rongrong in the hall, they were a little confused about his identity, and how he could be so close to Ning Rongrong of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect. The moment Yu Guan saw Ling Yu, he had already walked over with a smile. "Xiao Yu, Grandpa Yu Guan." Ling Yu bowed slightly and greeted Yu Guan. This was his respect for Yu Guan. As an elder who had devoted his whole life to the Spirit Hall and had done him a great favor, he naturally needed to treat him with courtesy. Feeling Ling Yu's current strength, Yu Guan looked a little shocked. He whispered, "When did you break through to the Soul Sect? This is too fast." Gimme also came over. When Ling Yu felt his current cultivation, he could clearly feel the shock on the other party. "It's a little adventure, Grandpa Yu Guan, Elder Gimme, please don't rush to leave after the party is over. I have something good for you." Ling Yu would not forget the two immortal herbs he had prepared in his ring for a long time. The Kirin Tong Xianzhu would definitely allow Yu Guan's strength to rise by at least one level again. As for Gimme, Ling Yu would not forget this elder who could perform the spirit fusion technique with Yu Guan. He also chose the immortal herb, Narcissus Jade Muscle Bone, for him. I remember that in the previous life video, Zhu's Huking and Daim Yubei took these two immortal herbs, which made their martial soul fusion skills even more powerful. He believed that as long as the two elders took them, not only would their strength be greatly improved, but the power of their martial soul fusion skills would also be greatly improved. Although Yu Guan and Gu Imei were curious about what help the other party could give to title Douluo at level 95, they did not ask much on this occasion. They just greeted him a few times and walked to the side of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo again to chat about things. However, this scene was like a flash of thunder in the eyes of many forces in the hall. Someone from the Spirit Hall? Such a young person from the Spirit Hall could still alarm Chrysanthemum Douluo and Ghost Douluo, one of the Golden Generation? Or the one who was rumored to be the Holy Son of the Spirit Hall at the age of 6? Ling Yu walked into the hall. He ignored the others here and looked at a middle-aged man sitting casually in a corner. He turned to Ning Rongrong and asked, "Rongrong, do you know who he is?" Ning Rongrong was delighted to hear him call her like that again, but she shyly replied, That's the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect. A level 85 Soul Douluo. The Fire Leopard sect is one of the lower 4 sects, so they don't have a title Douluo, and the leader is only a level 88 Soul Douluo." Ling Yu nodded and said nothing more. Gu Yuna glanced at Ling Yu, then at the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, her eyes somewhat confused. "Brother, he is, spy?" Ling Yu picked up a cup of tea and took a sip casually. "I can feel his malice, it's very obvious, although his eyes are well hidden, but I can feel his strong murderous intent towards me." Gu Yuna's eyes turned cold, but a sudden warmth came from her palm, which made her face relax instantly. "Don't be too obvious, this is a person who can get information out, you can't kill him easily." Ling Yu's mouth curled up into a cold smile. This person, when he just entered the hall, had already clearly felt his malice towards him. This was an ability that he accidentally awakened after his body was reshaped, which was a bit similar to Naruto's opening of the Nine Tails mode. It seems that many people have also switched camps under the change of the situation. Ling Yu's expression was still smiling, but the coldness in his eyes had already sentenced this person to death. He was worried that during this period of time, his mental power would be improved again, and there was no suitable test subject. The 2 Dragon Balls in his mind had been absorbed by himself by 1/3. The extremely viscous mental power in the Sea of Spirit was like a big river. His mental power is now comparable to the level of the tidal Douluo. Ling Yu chuckled a few times, which made Ning Rongrong on the side a little confused. Chapter 131 To compete? Ling Yu sat between Ning Rongrong and Guyuna, holding a teacup and carefully looking at everyone in the hall. Apart from the leader of the Fire Leopard sect, he did not feel any other obvious malice. At most, some noble children were jealous of him for being favored by two beautiful women at the same time. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, Ning Fengzi rapped his voice with his soul power, and it rang in the ears of everyone in the hall. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend my daughter Ning Rongrong's 12th birthday party. Ning is deeply honored. As he spoke, he bowed slightly to the people in the hall, with a grateful look on his face. Others also applauded, and the atmosphere in the hall began to become lively. Rongrong, come here, Ning Fengzi waved to Ning Rongrong beside him. Seeing the girl walking to his side in small steps, he took Ning Rongrong's hand and said, "This is my daughter Ning Rongrong, and the only successor to the future leader of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect. Now, without further ado, everyone can eat, drink and chat freely, and relax a little." As he said that, he asked Ning Rongrong to bow slightly to everyone, and took her hand and walked to Ling Yu's side. "My friend Ling Yu, I hope that when you become stronger in the future, you will not let Rongrong down," Ning Fengzi said solemnly. "This is a father's request." Ling Yu looked at Ning Fengzi and then at Ning Rongrong, without saying anything, but just nodded. Seeing his nod, Ning Fengzi chuckled a few times, patted the back of Ning Rongrong's hand, and turned to walk away. Ling Yu watched Ning Fengzi walk to the side of the Four-Sword Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo, and Yu Luomian followed behind. The 6 people represented the 3 strongest forces on the continent. Except for the Haoshan sect, several people gestured to the representatives of several major sects and walked to the back of the hall. However, when Ling Yu saw the strong murderous intent that the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect inadvertently revealed to him before he walked in, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Idiot, I'm going to socialize. You can eat whatever you want. I specially asked the people in the kitchen to make a lot of 1,000-year soul beast meat yesterday. These are all very nutritious." Ling Yu nodded to the girl and watched him walk towards the crowd of young people brought by the major forces in front. However, just when Ling Yu was about to pull Guyuna to find something to eat, he saw a handsome man with a mask that looked like Kakashi on his face, and his eyes flickered a few times. "Hey, you are the Holy Son of the Spirit Hall, right?" The young man walked up to Ling Yu and said in a familiar manner, "A person who can alarm Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo, a member of the Golden Generation, will not be treated like this." Ling Yu looked at the young man and smiled. "Are you Feng Zai Ocean? The innate full soul power genius that the Feng family of the Divine Wind Academy encounters once in 100 years? But why have you just broken through to level 40 now?" The young man's face paused, and he said with some surprise in his eyes, "Am I so famous now? Even the Holy Son of the Spirit Hall has heard of me." Ling Yu shook his head helplessly. "If you say you are famous, you are indeed a little famous. After all, there are only a few people with innate full soul power on the continent, and you are one of them." "Naturally, I have read your information," Feng Zai Ocean nodded, but even so he was still very excited and said, "Let me ask a more private question. You also know that the Continental Soul Master Elite competition will be held in 2 or 3 years. What level are you now? Logically, you are only 13 years old now. Soul Venerable? Or Soul Sect?" Ling Yu looked up at him and found that at this moment, a young girl wearing a fiery red short skirt, with a hot body and beautiful appearance, walked over. "Feng Zai Ocean, what are you doing here?" Ho Wu saw that Feng Zai Ocean did not come to please her, but was happily chatting with a young man who was just suspected to be the golden generation of the Spirit Hall. She walked over here with interest. "Sister Ho Wu." Feng Zai Ocean's body shuddered instantly when she heard the voice that haunted her. She immediately stood up and smiled with a dog-licking face, bending over. "Nothing, chatting with the son of the Spirit Hall here." "Son of the Spirit Hall?" Ho Wu's face suddenly froze. "Are you the son of the Spirit Hall?" Ling Yu looked at the 2 people in front of him, and after seeing the fighting spirit in the woman's eyes after hearing his identity, he waved his hand in boredom. He didn't have time to accompany the entanglement of 2 or 3 kittens here. If it weren't for meeting Tang San, he would have gone to the continent to find the coordinates of the Abyss Plane, or hunt down evil spirit masters. A soul sect and a soul lord, it's not worth his attention. although these two have some roles in the original novel. Hey, I'm talking to you. Even if you are the son of the Spirit Hall, you can't ignore me like this. Ling Yu turned his head and glanced at the woman in the red dress behind him, and said softly, then what do you want? Since you are the son of the Spirit Hall, it means that your talent and strength are definitely the best in our age group. Have a sparring match with me. I will let you go. Otherwise, I will keep pestering you. Ho Wu was unreasonable and said carelessly. The arrogant look on her face made Ling Yu's helpless eyes deepen a little. Sparring, Ling Yu glanced at Feng Ziocean. You want to spar too? Feng Ziocean was stunned, and after thinking for a while, he nodded. He was very sensitive, and his intuition told him that the young man in front of him was definitely very powerful. Just as the three were talking, two more figures came over. A fat and strong man who was at least 2 meters tall, and a handsome young man who looked a bit like Ho Wu. The two had heard the discussion of Feng Ziocean and the other two. They heard that they were going to compete, and they were going to compete with the Saint of the Spirit Hall. This was a big deal. If they could defeat Ling Yu, then the reputation of defeating the Saint of the Spirit Hall would be enough to benefit them for the rest of their lives. Hu Yanli. You want to go too? Ling Yu remembered this kid. 2 years ago, when he was in the Spirit Hall, his grandfather took him to join the Spirit Hall. He had met this kid once at that time. Hu Yanli's expression was a little embarrassed. Before he came, his grandfather said that he must not provoke the Saint of the Spirit Hall, and said that if he provoked him, he would die without knowing how. But how could he, who has always been called the future of the Elephant Armor sect, resist the youthful vigor and fighting spirit? I want to try. Ho Wuxiang, who was standing aside, heard Hu Yanli's words and stepped forward and said, My name is Ho Wuxiang, Ho Wu's brother. Please count me in for this kind of thing. After all, being able to compete with the Saint of the Spirit Hall, even if you lose, is a great pleasure in life. Chapter 131 Sending Immortal Grass. Ling Yu looked at the 4 people in front of him who were ready to make a move, and sighed in his heart. It's not that I want to bully you, you asked for it. Let's go, outside, Ling Yu said, and he took Natter to the outside of the hall first, ignoring the 4 people behind him. Feng Ziocean and the other 3 looked at each other, and followed each other with solemn eyes. Here, Ling Yu let go of Natter's hand, and led the 4 people to an open space with few people. He turned around and looked at the 4 people and said softly, I only use one move. If the 4 of you catch it together, then you are qualified to compete with me. If you can't catch it, you know it. As he said that, he shrugged his shoulders, and his casual look made Ho Wu's eyes surge with anger. You will pay the price for underestimating us, even if you are the son of the Spirit Hall. Ling Yu didn't waste their words. Release your spirit. The 4 of you come together. Compared with Ho Wu's anger, Feng Ziocean and the other 2 were unusually calm and awe-inspiring. Wind Two-Headed Wolf, possess, Fire Tyrannosaurus, possess, Diamond Mammoth, possess, Hawkage. Ling Yu watched the 4 people summon their martial spirits one after another, his eyes closed and opened, and the 3 Magatama Sharingan instantly replaced the black pupils. The evil aura from his body pressed directly towards the 4 people. Get it? Ling Yu's pupils glared at the 4 people. Illusion, Naraku sighting technique. After looking at the 4 people who were stunned in the same place again, Ling Yu did not speak, and directly pulled Gu Yunat to the hall to start eating. It was not until half an hour later, when Ling Yu finished his meal and was chatting with Ning Rongrong and Gu Yuna, that the 4 people walked into the hall with their heads down. The moment the 4 entered the hall, they were looking for Ling Yu's figure. They saw that he was holding a piece of barbecue and eating it with relish, and he did not forget to greet them with his greasy fingers. The 4 looked at Ling Yu awkwardly, especially Ho Wu, who questioned her ability for the first time in her life. She had lived a life of being the center of attention since she was a child. Even Feng Ziocean, a soul master with full innate soul power, had been defeated by her more than once, not to mention every time he flattered her in daily life. But today, the son of the Spirit Hall only summoned his spirit, without even releasing his soul ring. The 4 best students in each academy were controlled for half an hour with one move. If this was a life and death duel, they would have died countless times. The gap is too big. It's simply not the same dimension. Although Feng Ziocean was a little disappointed, he saw Ho Wu's expression and once again turned into a dog to comfort her, but he did not cause any reaction from the other party. Ling Yu looked at this scene with amusement and sent a message to Feng Ziocean through mental transmission. If you want to win Ho Wu's heart, you must understand that such a strong woman can only be conquered by the strong who defeats her. If you continue like this in the future, Ho Wu's heart will not only not have you, but will be filled with me. Remember, a dog licker will not die well. Feng Xiaoshan's eyes were a little tangled in his realization, but he still nodded to Ling Yu gratefully. The four of them found a seat casually and sat down quietly. They were not in the mood to eat, and they were all digesting the shock just now. Seeing that the time was almost up, Ling Yu turned his eyes to the direction where the representatives of the major forces had just gone. Sure enough, within 2 minutes, Ning Fengzi let everyone out again. But this time, Ling Yu could clearly see that his face was a little ugly. Although he was still smiling, his smile was more like a sneer. In the evening, the birthday banquet ended, and the major forces began to return one after another. Zhu Douluo and Ghost Douluo followed Ling Yu and came to the residence arranged for him in the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect. Walking into the house, Yu Guan couldn't help asking, Xiao Yu, what exactly are you going to give us? Why are you being so mysterious? Ling Yu smiled at Yu Guan, stretched out his hand and wiped his soul guide ring, and 2 jade boxes appeared in his hands. The moment the box appeared, Yu Guan's curious face suddenly turned into excitement and ecstasy. What is this? Yu Guan said in astonishment. Fairy grass, Karen Tong Xianzhu and Narcissus jade muscle bone. Xiao Yu, where did you find it? Ling Yu smiled and shook his head. Grandpa Yu Guan, don't ask, this is something I got by chance. I promised him that I would not tell him the place, but I guess he will give it to the spirit hall soon. How is it? This gift suits your heart, right? Ling Yu handed the 2 boxes to Yu Guan and Ji Yuimei respectively, with a gentle smile on his face. Since joining the spirit hall, Yu Guan's care for him, as well as his sincerity and dedication to the spirit hall are obvious to all. After giving this thing away, Ling Yu did not feel the slightest bit of reluctance, only deep gratitude. Grandpa Yu Guan has been taking care of me since I joined the spirit hall at the age of 6. Ling Yu has always remembered his kindness in his heart. Today, I can finally repay him a little. Yu Guan looked at the handsome young man in front of him, listened to his words, and looked at him with red eyes. You kid. Yu Guan stretched out his hand and rubbed his head with a choked voice, saying, practice well and work hard to become stronger. The future of the continent and the spirit hall depends on you. Ji Yuimei and Yu Guan have been friends for decades. Although he doesn't know what this fairy grass is used for, he also knows that this kind of thing can make Yu Guan so excited. It must be extraordinary, and it can even be comparable to a soul bone. Grandpa Yu Guan, don't be too excited. I can't return to Wuhan City for a while. Please help me take this thing to the Pope when you go back this time. Ling Yu took out a tightly packed box from the ring with his backhand. This is the Snow Swan Kiss. Snow Swan Kiss. Yu Guan's face suddenly changed, and he looked at the box with eyes as if he was avoiding snakes and scorpions. You actually found this? What are you? When he said this, his pupils showed a look of surprise. That's right, with this fairy grass, combined with the Pope's Spider King poison, the Pope's strength will definitely be able to reach a new level, and even be comparable to the Great Priest. Ling Yu smiled and nodded. As expected, he is worthy of being a titled Douluo who has been playing with flowers all his life. He understands it at a glance. Grandpa Yu Guan, don't worry, kid, I have something here. Ling Yu took out 3 boxes from the ring on his hand again, which made Yu Guan's mouth twitch a few times when he saw this scene. What kind of shit luck do you have? You actually came across so many of these magical herbs that are so rare in the world. Ling Yu ignored the other party's teasing and pointed at the box and said, this is an 8-petal fairy orchid, which can greatly increase the cultivation speed of a soul master. I picked it for my senior sister. This is a 9th grade purple fungus, which is for Yan. Because his martial soul is a dual attribute of fire and earth, I couldn't find a fairy herb that fits his martial soul. I can only help him improve his qualifications and soul power. The last one is a black jade divine bamboo, which is for Zu. As for the effect, Grandpa Yu Guan, you know better than me. Yu Guan took a deep look at Ling Yu, with a bit of teasing in his eyes. Xiao Yu, when will you take Nana over? This little girl misses you so much. If it hadn't been discovered by His Majesty the Pope last time, she would have escaped to find you. Ling Yu touched his nose embarrassedly. Don't make trouble. There are 2 women here. If there is another one, it will cause trouble. Chapter 132, Fallen into a Trap? Ling Yu sent off the 2 titled Douluos, and looked at the gradually darkening sky with a solemn expression. It's time to go fishing, Ling Yu murmured softly. turned around and strode towards the outside of the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect. Guan just told him what everyone talked about in the secret room, which was naturally related to the evil soul masters. The matter was to let the major forces arrange personnel to go to the far north together. However, I thought that this matter would be unanimously agreed by everyone. After all, that was the gathering place of evil soul masters, but in the end, there was a disagreement on the dispatch of personnel. The Spirit Hall will send more than 5 tidal Douluos and more than 10 soul Douluos. The Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect and the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect will each send 1 tidal Douluo, 3 soul Douluos and 15 soul saints. The 4 lower sects will each send 1 soul Douluo and 5 soul saints. The other forces must also send at least 3 soul saints. However, this matter made the Fire Leopard sect, the Wind Sword sect and some small families feel that it was inappropriate. The dozen forces represented by these 2 sects were only willing to exclude 1 or 2 soul saints, saying that the various affairs within the sects and families needed manpower and they could not spare so many people at once. Moreover, they kept shirking their responsibilities on the grounds that the Heaven Dao Empire was unwilling to send troops. Hearing this, Ning Fengzi and Zhu Jiyue, the 2 tidal Douluo, had actually realized that there was a traitor stirring up trouble here, with the purpose of delaying time so that the evil soul masters and the enemy planes could gain more time. Knowing this, it would be strange if Ning Fengzi was in a good mood. He thought this was a battle between planes and a war between the worlds, but he did not expect that there would be a traitor at such a critical moment of life and death. Even if they were prepared for this, when they really saw it with their own eyes, it would still cause a chill in many people's hearts. When Ling Yu heard this, he already understood that it must be the deputy leader or leader of the Fire Leopard sect who went to the Wind Sword sect, which was also one of the 4 lower sects, to lobby, and the key was that he succeeded. Then Ling Yu had already sentenced Fengjian sect to death in his heart. Regardless of whether they were traitors or not, Ling Yu would never let them have an easy time just for muddying the waters. These people would not dare to say a word in normal times, but now with so many enemies, they dared not attack them with the help of these major forces, lest it cause unimaginable consequences, which led to a group of fence-sitters jumping out. Ling Yu ran quickly towards the sect gate. He wanted to make himself a bait to lure some people out. There must be more than just the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect who wanted to hunt him, the son of the Spirit Hall. There must be someone behind him, and there is even a great possibility that he is a tidal Douluo of the evil Spirit Master. Ling Yu walked out of the Seven Treasures glazed sect, and a hidden mental wave kept flowing through his body. Do you think you have me? Ling Yu knew that this was at the gate of the Seven Treasures glazed sect. They did not dare to take action here. Otherwise, with the speed of the tidal Douluo of the Spirit Hall, it would be a pipe dream for them to escape back to the far north in time. If they wanted to lure them to take action, they had to go to a more remote place. Thinking of this, Ling Yu did not slow down his pace and quickly walked towards the wasteland outside Kibeo Mountain. It was at least several hundred miles away from Kibeo Mountain. After dealing with him, these people could hide or escape directly. Of course, it could also be their burial place. An hour later, when Ling Yu came to the center of the wasteland with the Wufang sword on his back, a familiar breath suddenly appeared from not far away. Son of the Spirit Hall, the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect looked at him with a sinister smile. Should I say that you are unlucky? Or are you lucky today? Ling Yu pretended to look at him in surprise. Deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, why are you here? Ha ha ha. The man laughed a few times, looking a little crazy, and the flame breath on his body began to show on his body. Ling Yu carefully found that these flames were mixed with some black and strange breath, a bit like the unidentified creature encountered in the starred-out Great Forest a year ago. Your Highness, you have 2 choices now. 1. Join us. 2. Die, please choose. Ling Yu reached out and took the edgeless sword on his back. Looking at the arrogant man in front of him, he said softly, is there no third option? What do you think? The man looked gloomy and looked at Ling Yu fiercely. Then there is no other way. Ling Yu closed his eyes and opened them again, and his Mangekyo Sharingan opened instantly. An evil aura emanated from him, causing the middle-aged man opposite to change his expression. 4 soul rings, 2 purple and 2 black, rose up instantly. Ling Yu said to him, where's the person behind you? Won't he come out? How is this possible? The pupils of the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect shrank suddenly. He stared at the 4 soul rings on Ling Yu's body and said in disbelief, the first 1,000-year soul ring, 2 10,000-year soul rings, forget it. The first soul ring on Ling Yu's body lit up instantly. "Let's get rid of you first, illusion." His eyes glowed red, and in the man's disbelieving eyes, he completely imprisoned his body in place. "My body is like a sword, extremely sharp." Ling Yu held the edgeless sword with both hands and stomped his foot. The ground suddenly made a deafening sound, and his body instantly disappeared from the spot. The next moment, as if teleporting, Ling Yu appeared in front of the other party, raised the long sword, and slashed directly at him. Shui! At this moment, an inexplicable chill suddenly came from behind Ling Yu. His body turned suddenly, and a black arrow shot at the spot and exploded directly. "You are such a waste." Ling Yu pressed one hand on the ground, and a huge stone wall blocked his way, blocking the aftermath of the explosion. He looked up at the sky, and above his head stood a man in a black robe, short in stature, but with unusually strong arms. The man held a pitch-black bow in his hand, and 9 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black, appeared on his body. Black sable bow. Ling Yu's face was a little surprised. This kind of martial spirit should have a very low martial spirit strength, so how could it be possible to cultivate to the level of a title Douluo? No. Ling Yu's vision increased greatly after he turned on the kaleidoscope. He could clearly see that there was a strange pattern on the pitch-black bow in the other party's hand, and the pattern exuded a strong, strange aura. "The title Douluo of the evil spirit master," Ling Yu said neither humbly nor arrogantly. "This place is only a few hundred miles away from the 7 treasures glazed tile sect. The spirit of Bone Douluo is of special attribute. Aren't you afraid of being killed?" "Killed?" The man showed a hint of sneer on his face. "Look around you. In order to kill you, the holy son of the spirit hall, in the bud, the leader has rewarded me with an extremely powerful thing." Ling Yu's pupils shrank. He looked around and found that the area within a radius of 5 kilometers was actually separated by a thick space barrier. "This time we have invested heavily just to kill you. You can't escape." Just when Ling Yu was stunned, the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect had recovered his ability to move. He looked at Ling Yu and said with gritted teeth, "Boy, you either surrender and join us today, or you will die." Chapter 133, Battle Against the Evil Spirit Master title Douluo. Looking at the Fire Leopard sect's deputy leader who looked like a villain in front of him, Ling Yu couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Shush! If it wasn't for him just now, someone like you would be a fool." Ling Yu pointed at the evil soul master title Douluo and said to the Fire Leopard sect's deputy leader with a smile, "I have already chopped off your head and kicked it like a ball. Still talking nonsense here? The Fire Leopard sect is such a big sect, but there is a scum like you. Have you ever thought that once what happened today is known to others, hundreds or even thousands of people in the Fire Leopard sect will all be in trouble?" Hearing Ling Yu's words, the man's face suddenly became ugly. He stared at Ling Yu intently, and a huge red leopard suddenly appeared behind him, with scorching flames wrapped around the leopard's body. Then, 8 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 4 black, rose on the opponent's body, and his body began to become burly and strong. "It seems that you chose the second one." The 5th black soul ring on the middle-aged man's body lit up. 5th soul skill, explosive fire fist. His arms were burning with flames, and he looked at Ling Yu with a sinister look, ready to launch a thunder attack. Humph! Ling Yu's 3rd and 4th soul rings lit up together, and his eyes met the man's again. 3rd soul skill, demonization. 4th soul skill, eye of desire. The deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, who was ready to launch an attack, suddenly had his eyes bulged, his face suddenly flushed, and the blazing flames on his arms dissipated instantly. He stretched out his hands and tightly grasped his chest. The intense heat made his body begin to emit white smoke, and blood kept spitting out of his mouth. Ling Yu's mental power is now comparable to that of a title Douluo. With the Eye of Desire, the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, who is only a soul Douluo, will be seriously injured even if he doesn't die. But just as Ling Yu was about to take the next step, the evil soul master title Douluo in the sky shot an arrow at him again. The arrow was fast and powerful. "Is it too late?" Ling Yu sighed softly, and the next moment, a huge skeleton 10 meters high appeared on his body. Boom! With a loud noise and the surprised eyes of the evil soul master in the sky, Ling Yu stood there unscathed, looking at the slight crack on the chest of Susanoo beside him, with a hint of surprise on his face. Can a casual attack be comparable to the full-strength attack of a soul saint? The man in the air looked at Ling Yu and couldn't help asking in surprise, "What kind of ability is this? Soul skill?" "No, the soul ring is not flashing, and there is no fluctuation of soul skills. Is it the ability of the martial soul itself? As he said, he looked at the man who was almost twitching with pain, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Your mental power is also higher than that of an ordinary soul, Douluo. The holy son of the spirit wall? It seems that we cannot keep you. Such a talent is really terrifying. Hearing the praise from the title Douluo above him, Ling Yu smiled and said, "Thank you for your praise. It's a pity that you are a beast, otherwise I would really like to reward you with a glass of wine." Seeing Ling Yu's frivolous look, the short man's face suddenly darkened. The seventh soul ring on his body lit up. "Don't think I'm that fool. After seeing your ability, I won't be careless. I will kill you with all my strength." Seventh soul skill, weapon soul true body. As the man's voice fell, a huge shadow holding a longbow emerged from behind the man. The majestic momentum began to squeeze in this space, and Ling Yu could feel the trembling of the pores on his body. His eyes changed. Except for the last duel with the dark demon evil god tiger, this was his first time to face a title Douluo head-on. Sure enough, last time, with Daming and ermine covering him, he could only attack the dark demon evil god tiger by surprise. This time, the confrontation was head-on, and the pressure was far greater than the last time. "Boy, use whatever tricks you have," the man sneered at Ling Yu, "otherwise, you won't have a chance next time." Ling Yu didn't say anything, and the first and third soul rings on his body lit up at the same time, and then a golden light shot out from his eyes towards the other party. Seeing the golden light, the man's face changed drastically, and before he could react, he was imprisoned in place and couldn't move. "You are careless." Ling Yu smiled slightly, but the six-pointed pupils in his eyes glared at the man. Amaterasu, a ball of dark flames instantly ignited from the man's body, and the scorching temperature made the man's eyes look extremely terrified. He watched the flames burn from his arms to his shoulders, head and body. Ling Yu let out a breath and looked at the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, who was still struggling on the side with a ferocious face. Directly control Susanoo to raise his fist and smash towards the opponent. The opponent obviously also noticed something was wrong, but at this time his whole mind was completely attracted by the fire of desire in his body, and he had no time to react. Boom! As Susanoo's huge fist smashed down, dust filled the air, and the man in the huge pit lay in it with blood gushing from his mouth and nose. After such a blow, he had no time to suppress the fire of desire in his body. He could only watch as an invisible flame gradually burned in his chest and gradually devoured his body completely. "Why bother?" Ling Yu said softly. "You are a good deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, but you have to be a traitor." Ignoring the man who was destined to die, Ling Yu looked again at the man not far away whose entire arm was covered by Amaterasu. His eyes were sharp, and the skeleton of Susanoo on his body was quickly wrapped by dense muscle tissue, and quickly grew into a 20-meter-tall giant. Fusion. As the voice fell, the edgeless sword in Ling Yu's hand suddenly disappeared in his hand, and then, a purple long sword more than 10 meters long appeared in Susanoo's right hand. "Damn it, kid, you pissed me off." Just as Ling Yu was about to kill the other party directly, the effect of the golden eyes and angry eyes finally came to fruition. The man's restraints were lifted, and he immediately stretched out his hand to become a knife, cutting off his left arm and shoulder. Blood spurted, and the arm that had been burning with black flames fell from the air. "Ah!" With a scream, the man quickly used his soul power to seal the meridians and blood vessels to stop the gushing blood. Ninth soul skill. Shoot the sun. The black-robed man's eyes were full of bloodshot, and he looked at Ling Yu on the ground with an extremely cruel look, and that look wished he could skin Ling Yu alive. Ling Yu looked at the huge phantom above his head, holding a longbow in his hand, and a huge golden arrow condensed on it. The terrifying energy caused waves of energy storms around him. The wind blew up, the dust filled the air, and the vast terrifying aura continued to press towards Ling Yu. "You have nowhere to hide from this move. Prepare to die." Ling Yu's pupils shrank, feeling the aura locked on his body. All the soul power, mental power, will and the huge power of Susanoo merged into this move. The purple giant's eyes flashed with golden flames, and he grasped the long sword that had been wrapped in black flames, and slashed directly at the arrows shot from the sky. Sky Sword. Chapter 134 Three-Color Divine Light. Susanoo held the edgeless sword in his hand, facing the golden arrow that was shooting straight at him in the air, and slashed it with one sword. The moment the long sword collided with the arrow, the wind stopped, and everything around seemed to be in a state of time stasis at this moment. Only Ling Yu and the evil soul master title Douluo on the opposite side still had consciousness. "How is it possible?" Amidst the short man's unbelievable voice, a shocking explosion resounded in this space. Boom. The huge explosion lasted for nearly half a minute before it finally stopped. When the dust dispersed and the gravel fell, Ling Yu knelt on one knee on the ground with a pale face, and blood kept spurting out of his mouth. At this time, the nearly 20-meter-high Susanoo on his body was already broken into pieces, and only a piece of less than 2 meters of skeleton wrapped Ling Yu, barely blocking Yubo who had just collided. But he looked at the evil soul master titled Douluo in front of him with a smile on his face, who was even more miserable than him. At this time, the opponent was standing on the ground, but a sword mark extending from the neck to the thigh almost cut the opponent in half. A large amount of blood flowed from the man's body, dripping onto the ground like free water. The man's eyes were a little sluggish, but the strong vitality and will of the titled Douluo still allowed him to survive. Ahem, the man looked at Ling Yu with a sinister look in his eyes. I didn't expect that a soul sect like you would have such strength, but, ha ha ha. In the end, I won. He looked at Ling Yu's pale face, without any soul power in his body, and a look of serious internal injuries, and laughed. I admit that your talent is unprecedented, and it may even be unprecedented in the future, but you lost because you are just a soul sect. Even if I am seriously injured, I still have enough soul power in my body to support me to kill you. As he said, he forced himself to support a seriously injured body, and the 8th black soul ring on his body lit up. Die? The 8th soul skill, 1,000 arrows pierced the heart. The man held the longbow in one hand, and the next moment the soul ring lit up, a black arrow condensed on the longbow. Ling Yu watched as the other party used his soul power to condense into an arm, pulled the longbow and shot an arrow at him. The black arrows in the air were like shadow clones, quickly changing from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. In just a blink of an eye, thousands of black arrows shot towards Ling Yu at high speed. What a pity. Such a good genius. He will be strangled here today. The man looked at Ling Yu's helpless appearance and sighed with regret. Really? Ling Yu's mouth curled up in an arc, and he shouted clearly, Nirvana. A pair of huge golden wings burst out from his back, and then a ball of golden light instantly enveloped Ling Yu, as if time was flowing backwards. Ling Yu's mental power, soul power, and injuries were completely restored, as if he had returned to an hour ago. The man looked at this scene in horror. External soul bone. Ling Yu looked at the dense arrows in the sky with a blank face, and a colorful light flashed in his eyes, instantly covering all the arrows in the air. 3-color divine light. This was the external soul bone that Ling Yu obtained when he absorbed the demon eye peacock soul ring. This was the first time he used this ability. The effect of this soul skill is very powerful. In some ways, it is not inferior to his first soul skill. External soul bone, peacock eye. Self-contained soul skill, 3-color divine light. It can be used 3 times a month. After using it, a 3-color light will instantly be emitted from the eye socket. After the soul skills below the god level are illuminated by the divine light, the opponent's soul skill effect will be forcibly wiped out. An extremely powerful skill. It can be called a god skill. The man stared blankly at a 3-color light emitting from Ling Yu's eye socket. The next moment, his 8th soul skill, 10,000 arrows piercing the heart, suddenly disappeared in the sky, as if it had never appeared. You? The short man looked at Ling Yu in disbelief, with shock and horror in his eyes, making his body unable to help but step back a few steps. I won't kill you, Ling Yu said indifferently. After all, you are a titled Douluo who can extract information. You must know a lot of things that we don't know yet. The man's pupils shrank, and the next moment, he actually laughed. Want to capture me alive? Ha ha ha, I admit that your strength is beyond my expectations, but you don't have the ability to capture me alive. After saying that, in Ling Yu's surprised eyes, the other party's body actually began to burn with black flames, but this was not Amaterasu, but the other party's soul and spirit were burning. No, it's going to self-destruct. Ling Yu stomped his feet and quickly rushed to the side of the Fire Leopard's sex deputy leader, who was only left with one breath. The Susanoo on his body directly opened to the second form. My body is like a sword, indestructible. Ling Yu controlled Susanoo to use this move, and a deep purple light suddenly erupted from the long sword, completely wrapping the body of Susanoo. Holy Spirit is eternal. With a man's shout, a huge explosion comparable to the explosion between the two just now sounded in this space. Boom. After the loud noise, Ling Yu looked at the huge pit in front of him with a cold face. At this time, in this space with a diameter of 5 miles, Two huge pits with a radius of 100 meters and a depth of tens of meters have appeared. Looking at the broken Susanoo on his body, Ling Yu exhaled a breath and walked towards the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect with a deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect in one hand. However, within a range of less than 200 meters, Ling Yu slapped the ground with one hand, and a palm-sized round metal sphere appeared in his hand. Is this something that can seal the space? A soul guide? Or something else? Ling Yu, who didn't know much about this, didn't pay much attention and directly put the sphere into the ring. The moment he put it into the ring, the invisible space barrier surrounding him also dissipated. He continued to walk forward, but less than half a minute later, Ling Yu suddenly looked to the left side of his body 50 meters away. A dark crack suddenly appeared beside him, and then three familiar figures walked out of it. Friend Ling Yu, the moment Ning Fengzi walked out, he saw Ling Yu holding the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect. Isn't this? Could it be? Gurong looked at the dying man in Ling Yu's hand and said in surprise, is he a traitor? After saying that, he looked at Ling Yu with a strange look in his eyes. You didn't single-handedly defeat the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect, who is a level 85 strong attack soul Douluo. Ling Yu shrugged, as if it was obvious. Jian Douluo was also shocked by this scene, but his eyes suddenly changed. No, there should have been a title Douluo here just now. The soul power fluctuations in the air indicate that there should have been a title Douluo of about level 92 just now. At this point, he stared at the two huge pits in the open space in front of him with a dull look in his eyes, and suddenly turned his head to look at Ling Yu. Did you kill him? Chapter 135 Inquiry. I didn't kill him. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief. If the other party said that he killed a title Douluo, then Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo would have a mental breakdown. A soul sect could actually kill a title Douluo? If this ridiculous thing really happened, they would have a sense of deja vu that they had lived a dog's life. He blew himself up. I didn't kill him. The expressions of Ning Fengzi, Chen Zhen and Gu Rong suddenly froze, and they all raised their heads to look at Ling Yu. The three of them opened their mouths so wide that 2 eggs could be stuffed in, and their faces showed different expressions of disbelief and "Are you kidding me?" Ling Yu didn't say anything else, and threw the body of the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect to the ground. It's just right that the three of you are here, so I can interrogate him directly. I originally wanted to catch that evil soul master title Douluo, but I didn't expect that the other party was so determined and blew himself up directly. Hearing Ling Yu's words, the corners of the three people's mouths twitched and they said nothing. Ling Yu's main Gekio Sharingan instantly appeared in his eyes, and he glared at the middle-aged man with half-closed eyes. Illusion. Feeling the fluctuation of Ling Yu's mental power and the means of controlling the other party in an instant, the three were shocked again. Title Douluo level mental power, Jian Douluo exclaimed, making Ning Fengzi's eyes look at Ling Yu even brighter. Ling Yu felt that the other party had been tricked, gestured to the three people, and asked softly, why did you join the evil soul master? The middle-aged man's eyes were confused, his breath was depressed, and his lips were slightly open. They gave us benefits. What benefits? Ling Yu asked lightly. He helped our sect master to advance to the title Douluo. This sentence made Ning Fengzi and the other two's eyes flash. Sure enough, only such direct benefits can make the other party willing to be a traitor and be driven by the other party. Are there any other reasons? Or do you know any information about them? The man spoke again in confusion. They gave our sect master a soul bone. And they also promised us that when the continent is unified, they will make our Fire Leopard sect second only to them. As for the information, they are very mysterious. They were wearing black robes the whole time, and their bodies were wrapped in an evil black gas. Their faces could not be seen at all. But I remember that there were 2 title Douluo who came to negotiate, and he seemed to have thought of something, and his tone was a little shocked. They all have 100,000-year soul rings. Hearing this news, Ning Fengzi and the other 2 showed shocked expressions again. You know, even Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, 2 title Douluo above level 95, do not have 100,000-year soul rings. This is the most desired treasure by soul masters all over the continent. Is there anything else you know? Hearing this, it was actually unrealistic for him to know how much information the other party had. It was obvious that the other party did not reveal too much information at all, but just showed off his strength to shock the other party. Then they gave the leader of the Fire Leopard sect some benefits and helped him break through the coveted title Douluo realm, which made them willing to submit. They asked us to help them delay time, confuse the content and purpose of this gathering, and asked us to unite more forces to buy time for them. Although I don't know why they did this, I can feel that they were very excited when they said this again. It was a kind of ecstasy after a big thing was about to be completed. Ling Yu's expression became a little sullen. It seems that the other party wants to connect the channel of the Abyss Plane so that a large number of powerful people from the other party can descend on the Douluo continent, Abyss Plane. Ning Fengzi looked at Ling Yu with some doubts, and asked puzzledly, "Is this the name of the enemy plane?" "How did you know it?" Ling Yu shrugged and said casually, "Just think of it as me getting some divine revelation and understanding something. I have told the two Douluos, Zhuji Yui, about the information about the Abyss Plane. It's just right that I will now introduce you to the information about this plane." He repeated the information the Sword Spirit told him. There are a total of 108 layers in the Abyss Plane. Each layer is a tribe, and each tribe has a king. You can't kill the creatures in this plane. Even if you kill them, they will be resurrected with the help of the Lord of the Plane after a while. That's the information. Therefore, the strength of this plane is very strong. You can treat all the first 20 layers as Tidal Douluo above level 98. You should treat the 15th layer as Extreme Douluo above level 99. The 5th layer and above are all God level strongmen, who can rival God. These news made Ning Fengzi, Chenzin and Gurong look extremely heavy. A strong pressure and despair emerged on the three of them. Ling Yu looked at this scene with emotion. Anyone who heard this news would be shocked and even desperate. They were really too strong. How can we fight more than 100 strong men above the Tidal Douluo? Now the total number of Tidal Douluo in Douluo continent is only 20 at most. Not to mention that they have strong men who can rival God. You don't have to be so pessimistic. As far as I know, there are at least 3 places on the Douluo continent where the inheritance of the God realm, God's residence, is located. And each of them is comparable to the level of their plane master, so as long as the inheritance of these places is taken down, we may not be unable to win. Ling Yu smiled at them and said, "Besides, don't we still have me? My soul sect can already kill Tidal Douluo, so when my soul Douluo becomes Tidal Douluo, I will definitely be able to compete with their god-level powerhouses." Seeing that the 13-year-old boy in front of him was actually comforting their elders, Ning Fengzi's face showed a trace of guilt. "Little friend Ling Yu is right, so from now on I will call you Xianyu, and you can just call me Uncle Ning. How about it?" Ning Fengzi looked at him with a glittering look in his eyes, which made Ling Yu a little confused. "Well, okay." Hearing Ling Yu's answer, Ning Fengzi smiled and nodded. "We lost our composure just now. Actually, on second thought, Xiaoyu, you are right. After all, they can't all come at once, they must come in batches, and there are still some specific times for them to come. This period of time is just the time for us to prepare, and of course, it is also the time for you young people to grow up." Jian Douluo glanced at the long sword behind Ling Yu and said softly, "No matter how powerful the enemy is, as long as we, the old generation, are here, you can rest assured to become stronger. When all of us old mortals are dead, it will be time for you to take over." The old swordsman is right. This is a battle of life and death. There can be no carelessness. While we old guys can still move, we should work hard to become stronger, Gurong said firmly. Ling Yu looked at the 3 people in front of him seriously and bowed slightly to them to show his respect. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 9 Treasures. Several people dealt with the body of the deputy leader of the Fire Leopard sect and walked towards the 7 Treasures glazed tile sect. Ling Yu looked at Ning Fengzi's back, and after thinking for a while, he decided to take out the immortal grass. What Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo said just now, as well as Ning Fengzi's righteous look, made him make a decision. Others gave me a bowl of water, I gave others a bucket of gold. Ling Yu always kept the 4 words of gratitude in mind, not to mention that he and Ning Rongrong still had some unclear connections. In short, at least it can strengthen the power of these guarding continents. After all, this is an auxiliary spirit master, and it is also the 7 Treasures glazed tile tower. It can assist many people on the battlefield, and at least it can greatly improve the strength of several Tidal Douluo. Several people came to the hall again, and Ning Rongrong and Gu Yuna happened to be sitting in the hall, chatting about something, and they all showed happy smiles. Seeing this, Ling Yu no longer hesitated, stretched out his hand and wiped the ring, and a jade box appeared in his hand. He looked at Ning Fengzi and said softly, "Uncle Ning, since I received your whale pearl a few days ago, I will give you a gift as well." As he said that, he placed the jade box in Ning Fengzi's hand. What is this? For some reason, the moment he received the jade box, his martial soul trembled slightly. Gu Yuna looked at Ling Yu's actions with a smile in the corner of her eyes, and her eyes looked at Ning Rongrong more gently. "This is fairy grass." Fairy grass? Ning Fengzi was a little confused. He had never heard of this thing. What kind of herb could be called fairy grass? He gently opened the box and stared at a very beautiful herb in the box. A few strange lights flashed in his eyes. Seeing this, Ling Yu explained, "This fairy grass is called Kilo Tulip. The body is the king of fairy grasses. It can distinguish the characteristics of all the spiritual creatures in the world and command them. It has all the abilities related to taste. Its fragrance can even change a person's breath. All plant-type soul beasts have their combat power reduced by half in front of it. It can absorb the essence of the world and the light of the sun and the moon. It cannot be swallowed. You need to suck the stamens gently and slowly absorb the essence into your body. Then practice soul power slowly and let the medicinal effects spread throughout your limbs and bones." Ling Yu smiled and said, "After all, the martial spirit of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect is flawed. I estimate that with the help of this pearl fairy grass, this defect should be completely made up." Hearing Ling Yu's words, the two titled Douluo and Ning Fengzi in the hall could no longer maintain a calm attitude. They quickly came to the front of this fairy grass and watched carefully. Ling Yu did not speak, but just stood quietly aside, waiting for the ownership of this fairy grass. Sure enough, after the three of them were excited for a moment, they exchanged glances with each other. Ning Fengzi took a deep breath and put the box in Ning Rongrong's hand. "Dad." Ning Rongrong was puzzled. It was obvious that with his dad, he could continue to improve. You know, he has been stuck at level 79 for more than 10 years. No one wanted to take this fairy grass more than Ning Fengzi himself. And no one wanted the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect to achieve greater glory and new heights more than him. However, he still gave this fairy grass to himself. When Ning Rongrong thought of this, she could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes, her nose was sour, and she threw herself into Ning Fengzi's arms. People say that parents want to leave the best to their children forever. At this moment, Ning Rongrong truly understood how much her father loved her. "Hey, Rongrong, don't cry." Ning Fengzi reached out and wiped the tears from Ning Rongrong's face a few times, and smiled. "Dad is old, I can see my limit. Even if I eat this fairy grass, I can break through the title Douluo, but you are different." Ning Fengzi looked at Ning Rongrong with shining eyes. "Dad's expectation for you is not to be a title Douluo, but a higher realm than title Douluo. The future title Douluo of the continent may not be able to protect themselves. Only by transcending and reaching a higher realm can there be a glimmer of hope." He turned and glanced at Ling Yu, and continued to say to the girl, "Moreover, if you don't want your sweetheart to throw you away, this fairy grass can only be taken by you. You must work harder." "Yeah." Ning Rongrong's face was full of tears, and she looked at Ning Fengzi and Ling Yu with tears in her eyes full of love and gratitude. The young man stood quietly aside, and this ending was not beyond his expectations. According to Ning Fengzi's love for Ning Rongrong, this fairy grass will definitely be given to her. Moreover, he was right. Even if he took it, cultivating to the title Douluo level was the limit. It was impossible for him to inherit the throne. His age limited his achievements. The next thing was simple. After Ning Rongrong calmed down, everyone gathered around her and watched him absorb the Kilo Tulip. As the colorful light on the girl continued to flash, a huge and beautiful 9-story pagoda emerged from her head. The moment he saw the pagoda, he excitedly shouted, "9 treasures glazed pagoda, it's the 9 treasures glazed pagoda." He turned around and excitedly shouted to Jian Douluo and Gu Douluo, "Uncle Jian, Uncle Gu, my 7 treasures glazed sect will be changed to the 9 treasures glazed sect from now on. What our ancestors have not completed has happened in front of me today." Ning Fengzi's excitement lasted for several minutes before he finally stopped. He looked at Ling Yu sincerely. "Xiao, I won't say much to thank you. Rongrong, please take care of me in the future." Ling Yu was about to argue when Ning Fengzi interrupted him. "You and Rongrong can discuss this matter, there is no need to talk about it here, it's settled." After saying that, he turned around and ignored Ling Yu's dull look, and watched Ning Rongrong gradually open her eyes with shining eyes. "Dad." After Ning Rongrong absorbed the Kilo Tulip, she looked at the martial spirit in her hand that had changed greatly, and watched Ningfengzi shed tears of gratitude again. However, when Ningfengzi put his hands deep and prepared to hug his daughter, who knew that the next moment, the girl ran quickly to Ling Yu, hugged her neck, and left a kiss mark on Ling Yu's face. Ling Yu, thank you. Ning Rongrong hugged her tightly and whispered in his ear, Rongrong will always wait for you. Ling Yu was still a little confused at this time. But he still reached out and rubbed Rongrong's head a few times and said something. Just leave it to time. 3 days later, a carriage drove out of Xiandao City and rushed all the way to Soto City. Ling Yu sat cross-legged in the carriage, watching the two girls chatting happily, and couldn't help saying, Natter, Rongrong, this time when I return to the academy, I will persuade Dean Flanders to join Lamba Academy. After all, Soto City does not have 2 strong soul masters to guard it. Once the evil soul masters attack, there is no ability to stop them. According to the current situation, we must go to the city where there are titled Douluo. Also, I will be away for a while. The specific time is to be determined, but I will be away for at least half a year. During this time, you must practice with all your strength and cannot slack off at all. Do you understand? Hearing Ling Yu's serious words, the two nodded vigorously. They could all feel the precarious atmosphere on the road now, just like the last dawn before dark. Chapter 137 Tang San. On the first day the 3 of them returned to Shrek, Ling Yu immediately went to Flanders' office. He sat opposite Flanders, and neither of them spoke. Just now, after hearing that Ling Yu was going to relocate Shrek Academy and merge it into Blue Tyrant Academy, Flanders surprisingly did not object, but instead looked thoughtful. Dean, has something happened recently? Ling Yu looked at Flanders' solemn expression and couldn't help but ask, if you have anything, you can tell me. If I can help, I will do my best. Flanders looked up at Ling Yu with relief, but he shook his head and said, in fact, the day after you 3 left, Zhao Wuji, several teachers in the academy, and I sensed the aura of the evil soul master. Ling Yu's face darkened, because he hadn't gone to see Ma Hongjin and the others yet. Could it be that something happened to them? Flanders looked at the other person's expression and knew what he was thinking. Don't get me wrong. The moment we noticed the evil spirit master, Lao Zhao and I went to check it out, Flanders said seriously, there is no big trouble. It's just 2 soul emperors and several soul lords who are wreaking havoc. Although some civilian casualties were caused, they were still killed by Lao Zhao and I. Ling Yu's hands were clenched a little tight. What a bunch of beasts. In fact, even if you don't say it, I also have this plan. After all, Soto City is too small. Some time ago, I told you that my good brother has accepted an apprentice with great talent and innate full soul power. His name is Tang San. In 2 days, it will be the day to recruit new people. When we recruit him, we will go to Xiandao City, as he said with some regret and apology, this time, I still have to trouble you. Ling Yu shook his head and said seriously, what are you talking about, Dean? I am also a member of Shrek. I will help as much as I can. Speaking of this, Ling Yu remembered what Ma Hongjin said to him last time. He looked at Flanders with strange eyes. Dean, I heard from Fatty Ma that you told them that those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre? Are you sure this is not bullying the weak? Flanders looked a little embarrassed. Seeing this, Ling Yu hurriedly said, I hope the Dean can correct their concept. You know, this concept is even similar to the behavior of the evil soul masters outside. If this behavior is not corrected, are you assured of their future? Flanders' breathing stagnated and nodded heavily. I know. I will call everyone to a meeting in the evening to make this matter clear. I will also explain the relocation to them. Ling Yu nodded slightly. The two chatted again in the room for a while. After saying goodbye to Flanders, he turned and walked out of the office. 2 days later, Ling Yu finished practicing swords and cultivation, walked back to the room to finish washing, and got up and came to the gate of the college. Today is the day to recruit new students. When Ling Yu walked to the gate of the college, a long line had formed outside. It's Xianwei. Li Yusong saw Ling Yu and said with a smile, what's wrong? Are you here to supervise me for collecting money randomly? Ling Yu laughed as he watched Li Yusong return the money. In fact, he had no doubts about this matter since he got Li Yusong's guarantee a year ago. He came here today just to see if Xiao would be with Tang San. If so, he could give them an explanation when he saw Ming and Erming next time. If not, he would need to consider the life and death of this little girl. After all, a 100,000-year-old soft-bone rabbit has low combat power. Now there are so many evil soul masters. Even if she is killed, Ling Yu will not be surprised at all. In addition, he needs to observe Tang San and talk to his father Tang Hao. The matter about Kaiang Sunji and the reason why Hao Xianzong closed the mountain are still a mystery. He must figure this out. Although he doesn't like the group of young people in Hao Xianzong, it is undeniable that the other party is probably the strongest among the three sects. In the future, against the evil soul masters and the abyss plane, such a combat power should not be missed. As for Kaiang Sunji's matter, this matter is related to Danger, Tang San, and even Xiao Wu. He must find out. He sat casually on a stool and smiled at Li Yusong. What are you talking about, Teacher Li? I just came to see if there will be some good seedlings selected by the Academy today. After all, you were also present when Dean Flanders said 2 days ago. Hearing Ling Yu's words, Li Yusong sighed. These days, evil soul masters are rampant. Although all major forces have joined forces to kill many, these evil soul masters are like locusts. They can't be killed no matter how hard you try. He turned his head and looked at the dilapidated academy behind him, with deep reluctance in his eyes. I was here when this academy was first established. I didn't expect that 20 years have passed in a blink of an eye. This relocation is good, at least the students in the academy will have a good training environment in the future. Ling Yu nodded and watched the other party continue to recruit students. Until a few minutes later, when two figures, one blue and one red, and a charming girl with a black leather jacket and explosive figure at the back, his eyes suddenly lit up. Here they come. He looked at a young man with ordinary looks at the back of the team, and next to him stood a lively girl with a pretty face in a pink skirt. Xiao Wu is still with Tang San, Ling Yu murmured, and there's Zhu Xiuqing, as expected, she is here too. It seems that even though I have changed a lot of the plot, the general development has not changed. It was at this time that Tang San turned his head and looked at Ling Yu from a distance. With just one glance, Ling Yu could see the scrutinizing eyes of the other party. Somewhat extreme, not broad-minded, but not too narrow-minded. More observation is needed. If it is just like this, there is still a chance to change in the future. Just from the other party's look at him, Ling Yu could see some of Tang San's behavioral norms. Before doing anything, he first started to scrutinize, and his senses were also very sharp. Should we say that he is worthy of being a person with a plug-in? Half an hour later, when Tang San led Xiao Wu to Ling Yu and Li Yusong, the two looked at each other again. Release your martial spirits and spirit rings, then stretch out your arms. Let me see if your age and spirit power are enough to join Shrek. Tang San and Xiao Wu nodded at the same time, and revealed their martial spirits and spirit rings. Just like the original work, they both had 200-year spirit rings. Ling Yu could feel that both of them were at level 29. Now in the academy, except for Zhu Xiuqing who was about to join, everyone's level was higher than them. You should know that Fatima has already broken through level 30. After a few days, when everyone is preparing to move to Xiandao City, they will take him to the Sunset Forest to hunt for the third spirit ring. It just so happens that Yubei is already level 39 and is about to break through level 40. Ninrangrong, after absorbing the Kilo tulip in the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect, was taken by Douluo to the Sunset Forest to hunt a 1,500-year-old spirit beast and obtain the third spirit ring. Her level was also raised to level 34. From level 27, she jumped 6 or 7 levels at once, which shows how much the fairy grass has improved her. Well, very good. Both of them are 12 years old. Xiao, take them to the 4th level. Chapter 138 10 Moves. Ling Yu nodded, and nodded to Tang San and Xiao Wu. Wait a moment, there should be another one who can join later. Hearing Ling Yu's words, the two were a little confused, and Li Yusong's eyes were even weirder. Are you sure? Shrek was lucky to recruit you guys last year. This time, there are already 2 people who are almost qualified to join. Is there another little monster? Ling Yu didn't say anything, just nodded. Well, everyone introduce yourselves. Ling Yu smiled at Tang San and Xiao Wu. My name is Ling Yu, and I joined Shrek a year ago. Tang San. From Nodding City. Xiao Wu, also from Nodding City. For some reason, Tang San looked at the strange boy in front of him. Since the first time he saw him, a strong sense of oppression emanated from him. This was the first time he felt strong pressure from his peers. He even felt invincible. This feeling made him unbelievable, and at the same time, he also had the desire to fight. Since he became a disciple, after the guidance of the other party and what he saw and heard, He always felt that his talent was absolutely second to none on the mainland. In addition to his two lives as a human being, and the blessing of various skills, no one in the same level battle has ever caused him too much trouble. Even the current Xiao Wu, when he does not use hidden weapons, Xiao Wu is not his opponent. But the handsome young man in front of him gave him a feeling that no one else could give him, a feeling of invincibility. This person is very strong, Tang San thought to himself, looking at Ling Yu with a bit of fiery eyes. 10 minutes later, when the long team was eliminated, only one person was left wearing a tight black leather jacket, with a cattail at the end, and her long black hair draped behind her, which made the woman's already stunning appearance even more charming. Coupled with the other party's extremely hot body, the woman's charm was even more vividly displayed. Even Tang San, who was next to Xiao Wu, couldn't help but look at Zhu Xiuqing a few more times when he saw her again. It was these few glances that were seen by the careful Xiao Wu at the side. Her eyes narrowed slightly and her cheeks puffed up. Third brother, Xiao Wu looked at Tang San angrily. Is this woman beautiful? Tang San looked at the pretty girl beside him with some doubts, and said softly, of course she is very beautiful. Xiao Wu's face darkened, raised her little foot, and stepped hard on Tang San's foot. The severe pain made Tang San's brows frown immediately, and he took a breath of cold air. The girl walked aside angrily, glanced to the side, and looked like she didn't want to pay attention to Tang San. What's wrong with Xiao Wu? Tang San said a little depressed. Did I do something wrong? Seeing the other party's face full of doubts and depression, Ling Yu held his forehead inside a few times. Should I say that he is indeed a gentleman? Tang San, Ling Yu thought to himself, even if he has lived two lives like him, he lived in the feudal era in his previous life, and he was a member of the Tang sect. He has never had any contact with women in his life, let alone the knowledge of love. Although it is undeniable that Ling Yu is sometimes silly in this regard, he has seen too many emo videos on Douyin, which are about love and affection. It's amazing. He is far better than a straight man like Tang San. After seeing Li Yusong help Zhu Xiuqing with a bone detection, he greeted Ling Yu again, and looked at him with a strange look. Without paying much attention, he gestured to Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Xiuqing behind him, asking them to follow, and walked towards the backfield. While walking, Ling Yu also introduced the situation here to several people again. That's the thing. Including the three of you, there are only 9 students in our academy now. The lowest level is 30. The oldest is 15 and the youngest is 12. Hearing Ling Yu's introduction, the 3 people in the back all showed shocked eyes. Even Tang San was in disbelief. He thought that he was rare to reach level 29 at this age. He didn't expect that there were several geniuses with much higher talents than himself and Xiao Wu. It's true that there are always people who are better than you. So, we are directly admitted, Xiao Wu was still angry with Tang San, but she still jumped like a little rabbit when she walked. She looked at Ling Yu and asked. Of course not, Ling Yu said softly, although your levels have reached 25 or above, this is just the academy testing whether you are qualified for admission. If you want to enter, you still have one last level. Tang San and Xiao Wu looked at each other and asked in confusion, which level is there? Ling Yu brought the 3 people to the center of the venue, turned around and looked at them and smiled. That is, the 3 of you will attack me together. If you can survive 10 moves under my hands, you will naturally pass and become a member of this academy. 10 moves, Xiao Wu said angrily, you look only a few years older than us. Even if you are a soul sect, we are 3 geniuses close to soul venerable. You underestimate us too much. Zhu Xiuqing, who was standing aside, didn't say anything, but her eyes looking at Ling Yu were a little solemn. She had experienced the life and death pursuit of her family, and her perception of the enemy was very keen. She could vaguely feel a faint sense of oppression from the handsome young man in front of her, but she didn't think that the 3 of them could survive more than 10 moves. Tang San looked at Ling Yu with a serious expression. He was the only one among the 3 people present who could feel some of Ling Yu's strong oppression. Just when he looked at the other person just now, he felt invincible. After the other person's introduction, this person's strength was at least Soul Master, or even Soul Sect, and he was not an ordinary Soul Sect, he was very likely to be very powerful. Hey, brother you, these 3 are the new students recruited this year. 3 more. Just as the few people looked at each other, a mean voice came from not far away. After absorbing the fire scale grass, although Ma Hongjin failed to evolve his martial soul into a fire phoenix, he could control the evil fire at will. His body was also much thinner than before. Although he was still a little fat, His big beer belly was only slightly bulging now. Ma Hongjin walked to Ling Yu's side. When he saw Xiao Wu for the first time, his eyes lit up, but when he saw Zhu Zhuking beside him, his mouth opened wide, and a stream of crystal saliva flowed from his mouth, looking like a pig brother. Zhu Zhuking looked at Ma Hongjin with some disgust. Is this guy really at least level 30? Why does he look like a gangster? She doubted it. Fatty, get out of the way, Ling Yu kicked him, causing him to stop being a pervert. Can't you see I'm going to test them again? Chapter 139 Testing Tang San. Test? Ma Hongjin was a little stunned when he heard that Ling Yu was going to do it himself, but the next moment, an excited look flashed in his eyes. Brother Yu, are you going to take action? What standard? You won't use an incense stick like Teacher Zhao? Then you are bullying him too much. Hearing that, Ma Hongjin actually said that the three of them couldn't even last an incense stick in the hands of the other party. Xiao Wu was immediately angry. Hey, little fatty, who do you think can't last an incense stick? The girl was angry. Even if he is a few years older than us, how strong can he be? Can he be as strong as Soul Saint Soul Douluo? Ma Hongjin looked at the other party strangely. Is this little beauty so accurate? How did he know that Brother Yu could torture Teacher Zhao to death? He saw it 2 days ago. Brother Yu had just come back and Zhao Wuji broke through the first level. He couldn't help it. When he was excited, he went to Brother Yu to learn from him. It happened that he came back from the brothel and saw this scene. The scene was really horrible. During the whole process, Boss Zhao was unable to cause any harm to Brother Yu even when he activated his spirit body. He was beaten by Ling Yu's physical body and ability to control elements. From the beginning to the end, he clearly saw that Ling Yu didn't even release his spirit skills, but he won. With his strength, he can at least compete with Soul Douluo. Seeing Ma Hongjin's strange eyes, Xiao Wu was a little scared. What's the matter? Am I wrong? Yes. You will know later. Ma Hongjin shrank his head and stood aside quietly, ready to watch the show. Tang San looked at Ma Hongjin deeply, and his intuition told him that the other party was extremely confident in Ling Yu's strength, even to the point of blind worship. And judging from the fluctuations of the other party's spirit power, he was at least level 30, about the same age as them, but his level had reached this level, and he still worshipped Ling Yu so much. Believe it. It's not simple. I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss. Ling Yu scratched his chin. In 2 minutes, the test will begin. Again, as long as you can survive 10 moves under my hands, you will pass. And, I will only use my physical body. What? 3. The first few sentences were fine, but the last sentence made the 3 people angry. This is too contemptuous. They are all geniuses. Xiao Wu and Tang San are both born with full soul power. Moreover, Tang San also has hidden weapons, purple magic pupils, ghost shadows and other tricks. This is too arrogant. Humph. Don't blame us if you get hurt later. Xiao Wu snorted at Ling Yu, turned around and discussed with Tang San and Zhu Zhuking. My name is Xiao Wu, Wuhan Rabbit, 29th level strong attack system battle spirit master. My name is Tang San, Wuhan Blue Silver Grass, 29th level control system battle spirit master. Zhu Zhuking was only slightly surprised when she heard Xiao Wu's words, but she was a little stunned when she heard Tang San's introduction. Blue silver grass? Can it be cultivated so quickly? My name is Zhu Zhuking, my spirit is the Netherworld Spirit Cat, and I am a level 27 agility attack spirit master. Zhu Zhuking nodded to the two of them and introduced her information. Tang San nodded and said seriously, we don't know the opponent's strength now, but since the opponent has said it, he must have something to rely on. The opponent's physical body must be very strong, so when we fight later, I will take charge. Okay, no problem. Tang San nodded to Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuking and began to discuss how to attack. 2 minutes later, Tang San and the 2 girls stood in a row. Seeing this, Ling Yu raised his mouth slightly and waved to the 3 of them. Do it. As soon as Tang San finished speaking, Zhu Zhuking was instantly possessed by the spirit. A black cat appeared behind her. The moment the spirit possessed her, a pair of cat ears grew on her head, and her eyes changed color at the same time. The left eye was dark green, and the right eye was clear blue. The nails on her 10 fingers became sharp and slender, faintly emitting a sharp cold light, and her body became more slender and flexible. With a move of her body, she rushed towards Ling Yu quickly, so fast that Tang San could only vaguely see her. First soul skill, Netherworld Thrust. The moment she arrived beside Ling Yu, The first 100-year soul ring on the girl's body lit up, and black light appeared on her 10 fingers, and her speed suddenly doubled. The sharp 10 fingers suddenly stabbed towards Ling Yu's neck. The speed is okay. Ling Yu ignored the girl's attack and whispered, but the attack is not satisfactory. In the surprised eyes of the girl in the tube behind her, her 10 fingers suddenly stabbed into Ling Yu's skin. The imagined scene of piercing flesh did not appear. Ling Yu's neck only emitted a few flames at the place where the girl's nails touched. Then Zhu Zhuking's attack missed her body and rushed to Ling Yu's front. I'm really not arrogant. It's just that I'm standing here. You may not be able to break my defense. Ling Yu shrugged helplessly at the three people, looking like he deserved a beating. Zhu Zhuking's eyes flashed with shock, astonishment, and disbelief. Her eyes suddenly became sharp, and the second 100-year soul ring on her body lit up. Second soul skill, Netherworld 100 Claws. Ling Yu watched the girl rush behind him. Her body began to spin rapidly, her arms kept waving, like a phantom. Clang. But no matter how the girl attacked, except for leaving a few sparks on Ling Yu's neck, it had no effect at all. Are you kidding? With his current body comparable to that of a titled Douluo, his strength is not inferior to that of a strength soul Douluo. With such a body, even if he stood there, a soul master would be exhausted to death and would not be able to break through the defense. Unless he has a magic weapon like the edgeless sword. But unfortunately, Zhu Zhuking, Tang San, and Xiao Wu in front of him obviously did not have it. Thinking of this, Ling Yu did not hesitate, and with one hand, he cut the back of the girl's head at a speed that the three people's eyes could not catch up with. With a slight sound, Zhu Zhuking glanced at Ling Yu unwillingly, her pupils quickly dilated, and she fainted. Ling Yu hugged her delicate body and put her aside. Seeing that Zhu Zhuking had tried her best but failed to break through her defense, Tang San's pupils shrank. So strong. Xiao Wu was also shocked, and her pretty face looked like she was doubting her life. However, Tang San's psychological quality was better. He looked at Ling Yu with a serious look, and blue-silver grass grew on his hands, and 2 circles of yellow spirit rings appeared on his body. Ling Yu was still standing there, looking at Tang San and Xiao Wu, waiting for their attacks. Several subtle noises began to come from the ground, and in an instant, several vines as thick as wrists broke out from the ground and wrapped around Ling Yu's body. Xiao Wu, do it. Seeing Ling Yu being entangled by the blue-silver grass, Tang San instantly issued an order to Xiao Wu beside him. A pink light flashed, and Xiao Wu's body jumped on the ground several times, quickly approaching Ling Yu. First soul skill, waist bow. As a yellow 100-year soul ring lit up on her body lightly stretched, her 2 thighs wrapped around Ling Yu's neck, and her body bent backwards, trying to use this force to throw Ling Yu out. Too weak, Ling Yu said casually. Hearing the voice, Xiao Wu found that no matter how much strength she used, the opponent was like a mountain, not moving at all. Humph, Xiao Wu snorted coldly, and the second soul ring on her body rose, and a layer of pink light appeared in her eyes. Second soul skill, charm. Chapter 140 Testing Tang San, Part 2. Seeing that this little rabbit dared to use spiritual skills on him, he felt amused. Since awakening the Sharingan martial spirit, it can be said that he has never been hit by illusion-type soul skills in all the battles he has experienced. It is just like some spiritual attack soul skills and control soul skills can cause some trouble to him, but illusion-type soul skills seem to be born to surrender in front of these eyes. Of course, there is also the blessing of his basic cultivation method here, so that ordinary illusions can be easily discovered by him. Seeing Ling Yu looking at her eyes, Xiao Wu blinked, and the pink light in her eyes quickly rushed into Ling Yu's pupils. It's done. Xiao Wu saw that Ling Yu was hit, her face was overjoyed, and she was about to start fighting back, but for some reason, Tang San's mouth and her vision kept saying something, but unfortunately she couldn't hear it. Bang! With a light sound from the back of the head, it was as if the scene was replayed, and Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuking lay together. Ling Yu looked at Tang San, whose face was heavy and angry, and couldn't help but feel a little funny. What? Are you angry? Angry at me? Blame me for knocking your girlfriend out during the sparring? Tang San's eyes froze. He was indeed very annoyed that Ling Yu knocked Xiao Wu out, but what did you mean by asking this? This is a test, what? Do you want to provoke me to hit hard? Ling Yu looked at Tang San with some sarcasm. Sure enough, there were some mental problems, or even big problems, too self-centered. 5 more moves. If you can't hold out within 5 moves, then you lose. Tang San looked at Ling Yu with sharp eyes. At this moment, he decided not to hold back. Xiao Wu was actually knocked out, which made him feel uncomfortable from the bottom of his heart. Seeing the opponent's appearance, Ling Yu knew that this kid should be treated. Ling Yu stood there, casually hugged his chest and watched the opponent's next move. If the guess is correct, it should be time to use hidden weapons. Sure enough, the next moment, Tang San's hands turned jade white, and he kept touching the soul guide on his waist. Every time, dozens of hidden weapons such as bone-piercing nails were fired at him. Moreover, the direction of these hidden weapons flying was all vital. Although Ling Yu didn't want to bother with the opponent, he had no choice but to ask for death. He moved his feet slightly, and his body was like a phantom, constantly jumping back and forth around him, and the speed was very fast, as if there were two Ling Yus constantly exchanging bodies. Tang San stared at this scene in amazement. Can hidden weapons be dodged like this? So easy? Even if he opened the purple demon eye, he couldn't capture the opponent's exact figure. This made his face look a little ugly. In this case, Tang San raised his head and looked at Ling Yu with a more solemn and sharp look. He stepped in the ghost shadow and ran towards Ling Yu at a very fast speed. A small black hammer appeared in his left hand, and a heavy momentum emanated from the hammer. Tang San held the hammer with both hands, and a few blue veins appeared on his forehead. He smashed it towards Ling Yu's chest. Ling Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. Is this the clear sky hammer? He clenched his fist with one hand and swung it fiercely at the hammer that was smashing towards his chest. Boom! With a loud noise, a huge airwave burst out from the place where the two collided, causing several cracks on the ground. A blue figure quickly flew out from the collision point, flying for 20 or 30 meters before landing on the ground. Puff! Tang San suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale instantly. It was obvious that the opponent held back. Although he was not seriously injured, this kind of injury would also require a few days of recuperation. He looked at Ling Yu, who was unscathed, with an extremely shocked look in his eyes. This didn't cause him any harm? What kind of flesh is this? Next time, you can use hidden weapons in sparring, but don't send them to the opponent's vital points, otherwise, if you meet someone else in the future, you will be beaten to death, Ling Yu warned Tang San, who was lying on the ground, with no joy or sadness in his eyes. Tang San looked at him with a bad face, with a bit of shame in his eyes. He was just angry and used heavy hands in a rage. Now his body was injured. After calming down, he realized that this was not a mortal enemy, but a future classmate. I don't know who taught you these things, Ling Yu said to Tang San indifferently. These things are insidious. I have no problem with dealing with evil soul masters and mortal enemies, but if you are like this in normal sparring, then you are not murderous. He walked in front of Tang San, put one hand on his shoulder, pulled him up and put him on the ground. Have you killed many people? Tang San's eyes were sharp and shook his head. In his life, he had never killed anyone. You want to kill a lot of people? Tang San didn't know what the other party wanted to ask, but he still shook his head. Then when you use hidden weapons, you aim at the opponent's vital points. Isn't that killing people? Tang San glanced at Ling Yu and said softly, hidden weapons are what I would use against mortal enemies. I was angry just now and didn't know how to handle it. Please forgive me. Ling Yu didn't answer him, but asked, have you seen an evil spirit master? Tang San was a little confused by Ling Yu's questions. He didn't know why he asked this. But when it comes to evil spirit masters, he has really seen one. Just a few months ago, an evil spirit master appeared in Notting City. He also saw the Lord of Notting City and the Master of the Spirit Hall's Branch Hall killing the other party together. Seeing the other party nod, Ling Yu said, you should know what kind of evil spirit master is after you have seen the other party. They are no longer worthy of being called human beings. Tang San nodded. What he said was indeed right. At that time, he saw an evil spirit master killing a village. Fortunately, the Master of the Spirit Hall's Branch Hall arrived in time to delay the other party, and then joined forces with the Lord of Notting City to kill the other party. If you don't change your character of killing people at every turn, how far do you think you are from them? Ling Yu didn't want to pay attention to him, but he saw that although Tang San's character was a bit double standard, it still needed to be improved. He simply warned him since he still had something to say to his father. Hidden weapons are used against enemies. I won't use them easily. Tang San was a little angry when he compared the use of hidden weapons with evil spirit masters. He always wanted to glorify and rebuild the Tang sect. So what you mean is that I am the enemy? Tang San was stunned and said apologetically, just now I was so angry that I didn't stop for a while. This. Sorry, Ling Yu saw the guilt in his eyes and understood his style and character. Okay, I'm just warning you, you just need to remember your own words. After saying that, Ling Yu walked towards the woods ahead by himself, leaving only one sentence. In half an hour, the two will wake up naturally. During this time, Fatty and Tang San, you two take care of them. Although Fatty was lustful, he knew his limits after all, as they were his future classmates. Ling Yu himself had already sensed Tang Hao's aura and was ready to have a conversation with him, although the conversation might not be smooth. Chapter 141, The Past of Tang Hao and Jin's Unji. Tang San looked at Ling Yu walking towards the woods alone, feeling somewhat puzzled, but he did not say anything. He could understand what the other party had just said to him, but he did not take it too seriously. Hidden weapons depend on the character of the user. In the hands of bad people, they naturally become evil things, but in the hands of good people, they are things of justice. Tang San thought that he was born in the Tang sect. Although he was not a good person, he was not a bad person either, so he simply did not take the words just now too seriously. Ling Yu walked towards the forest. He naturally knew that what he said today would not have any effect on Tang San. But he could understand Tang San's personality more deeply. He could only say that he was more extreme and more self-centered. His figure gradually walked into the depths of the forest. Before he could stop, a majestic momentum descended directly on this place, crushing the surrounding flowers and plants completely. Haoshan Douluo's behavior is not worthy of the dignity of a titled Douluo, Ling Yu casually said to the front. A titled Douluo wants to teach me a lesson for his son, bullying the weak. Hearing this, the momentum that enveloped his body suddenly paused, and then a burly man in a black robe appeared in front of Ling Yu. How did you know it was me? The moment Tang Hao appeared, he looked at Ling Yu with some surprise and confusion. This is not a difficult thing, Ling Yu shrugged and said. Just now, Tang San used the Clear Sky Hammer, right? Now that the Clear Sky sect has closed the mountain, the only one who has this martial spirit in the outside world is the Clear Sky Douluo, who was expelled from the sect. From this point of view, Tang San is obviously your son. Humph, Tang Hao snorted coldly. Of course I won't bully the weak. That's a competition between you juniors. I showed up just because you are very similar to someone I have heard of. Ling Yu secretly curled his lips. If I hadn't felt your breath leaking at the end and withdrew some of my strength, you would inevitably hit me with a club. Oh? Who looks like me? Ling Yu pretended to be surprised and looked at the other party. The son of the Spirit Hall. Tang Hao looked at Ling Yu with a serious look. You don't need to hide it. I have carefully observed you during the battle just now. At your age, there is no one else who can have such talent and strength except the son of the Spirit Hall. Ling Yu waved his hands helplessly. So, what will you do? You want to blame the Spirit Hall for Kyank Sunji's incident? Looking at Tang Hao's appearance, at the first sight of him, he knew that Tang Hao did not hate the Spirit Hall, but had an inexplicable emotion that was hard to describe. It seems that Tang Hao's affairs were also affected by his appearance. Otherwise he would not have been able to remain calm and not kill after knowing that I was the son of the Spirit Hall. The moment he heard the name Kyank Sunji, Tang Hao's eyes widened, his face was ferocious, and a momentum that was even more majestic and fierce than before was lingering in this forest. Ling Yu felt that this momentum actually contained a faint breath of divine power. Could this be the realm of the god of killing? Huh? A few minutes later, Tang Hao exhaled deeply and looked at Ling Yu with a complicated look. He is him, and Spirit Hall is Spirit Hall. Ling Yu looked at the fierce aura on the other side and said softly, since Haoshan Douluo has no opinion on Spirit Hall, can you let me ask a few questions? In return, I can agree to a condition within my ability. Tang Hao glanced at Ling Yu, turned around and walked to a smooth stone to sit down. Seeing this, Ling Yu knew that the other party had agreed. He walked to the opposite side of Tang Hao and found a piece of empty space to sit on the ground. Can you tell me, kid, what happened 12 years ago? Is Kyank Sunji still alive now? Tang Hao looked at Ling Yu with some surprise. It seems that you have guessed something. His expression was a little regretful and painful. It's okay to tell you, but I need you to promise me one thing. Please go ahead, senior, Ling Yu said without hesitation. With your eyesight, you should be able to tell the identity of Xiao Wu beside Tang San. I hope that you in the Spirit Hall will not hurt her. I know this kind of thing is a little difficult for you, but, senior, hearing Tang Hao say this, Ling Yu interrupted hurriedly, please rest assured about this matter. Xiao Wu's identity is somewhat related to the Pope of our Spirit Hall. Strictly speaking, the Pope of the Spirit Hall is her savior. Naturally, I have to protect this person, so this condition does not count. You can propose another one. Tang Hao looked at Ling Yu in surprise, and then he suddenly realized, that's right, if she did such a thing, it's not surprising. Ling Yu was confused when he heard what the other party said. Danger is not a great sage, why do you expect her to do such a thing? Seeing the doubt in Ling Yu's eyes, Tang Hao said casually, I will explain this to you later. He thought for a while, looked at Ling Yu seriously again and said, when you are strong enough in the future, how about helping Xiao-san hunt an 8th or 7th soul ring? Hearing this, Ling Yu immediately agreed. It was just a 100,000-year soul beast. He could kill it in a year at most. It would take at least 6 or 7 years for Tang-san to reach the Soul Saint Soul Douluo. By then, he couldn't estimate what level Ling Yu's strength would reach. Seeing Ling Yu nod, Tang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. He naturally saw how powerful the other party's talent and strength were. At the first sight of Ling Yu, he actually felt a sense of threat from the other party. You know, he is now a 95th title Douluo, and there are only a few people on the mainland who can compete with him, but this 13-year-old young man actually had such a feeling. It is enough to show that the other party's strength is definitely hidden very deeply. In that case, then I'm relieved. Tang Hao's eyes were somewhat deep and decadent. The story about Jin's Unji, that scum, has to start from 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was a soul sage that year, and a big event happened on the continent that year. Jin Zunji, the previous generation of the Spirit Hall Pope, was seriously injured. Ling Yu looked serious and listened to the other party continue. I'm not sure about the specific reasons, but I heard that it was a mysterious strong man who injured the other party and almost killed him. If it weren't for the great worshipper Jin Douluo, the immortal old man, who took action, maybe Jin Zunji would have died 20 years ago. When Tang Hao mentioned Jin Douluo, he was obviously angry and dissatisfied. It seemed that because of Jin Zunji, Tang Hao had some opinions about Jin Douluo. I first met Kyank Sunji 20 years ago. I was traveling around the continent at that time and happened to meet him in a forest near the far north. I actually saw him doing some transactions with a very strange-looking creature. I could feel the power of that mysterious creature, which was definitely not weaker than a titled Douluo. At this point, Tang Hao's expression could no longer be restrained and became ferocious. But who would have known that because of this incident, because I witnessed Kyank Sunji's spirit six-winged angel suddenly turned into a fallen angel under the influence of the other party's aura, his strength increased greatly, and his injuries were instantly healed. But it was because I was too shocked at the time that I leaked my aura and let the other party notice it. Chapter 142, The Past of Tang Hao and Jin Zunji, Part 2. Tang Hao continued, because of the leakage of my own aura, Kyank Sunji and that strange creature chose to hunt me down. Fortunately, I escaped and fled into a city. They seemed to have some cooperation and plan, so even if they wanted to kill people in the city, they were restrained. I guess they should have some things to do, so they can't make too much noise on the mainland. This is why I was able to escape. At this point, Tang Hao's face showed an expression of anger and regret, but, for this reason, they also found the Haoshan sect. Because of my escape, they chose to vent their anger on the Haoshan sect. Tang Hao lowered his head, his messy hair covering his cheeks. I don't know where they heard the news that my grandfather, a 99th extreme Douluo who could compete with Jin Douluo, disappeared. They imprisoned the Haoshan sect by an unknown means and chose to attack. In this battle, the Haoshan sect suffered heavy casualties. Even my father, a titled Douluo, died. But it was also because of this that my father used a secret method passed down from his ancestors and used all his own strength. He sacrificed the lives of several elders and completely expelled the enemy, and sealed off the Haoshan sect. Tang Hao's voice trembled a little. This seal will last for 20 years. My eldest brother and my people are all sealed in the Haoshan sect. When Ling Yu heard this, his heart skipped a beat. If the people in there want to advance, how can they hunt for soul rings? As if he understood Ling Yu's thoughts, Tang Hao whispered, fortunately, the sect's closed mountain range covers a soul beast forest. Although this soul beast forest is not as good as the starred out great forest and the sunset forest, it does contain a lot of soul beasts, and the quality and age are not low. That doesn't make sense. Why do they want to vent their anger on the Haoshan sect? Would their whereabouts and existence be exposed? Ling Yu asked doubtfully, looking at Tang Hao with a puzzled look. I also want to know, if they do this, won't they expose their whereabouts? If it's just because of me, they only need to do their best to find me and get rid of me. Why do they need to trouble the Haoshan sect and make such a big fuss? Tang Hao stretched out his hands and scratched his hair. His face was extremely ferocious. Ling Yu ignored his irritability and fell into deep thought. There is definitely something wrong with this matter. As the king of the sky, the six-winged angel, except for some special speed-type martial spirits, it is difficult for other martial spirits to be faster than him. And Kyank Sunji, who was a titled Douluo at the time, and another abyss creature, couldn't catch up with Tang Hao, who was only a soul saint at the time. The clear sky hammer is just a strong attack martial spirit, and it has nothing to do with speed, let alone being able to dodge the six-winged angel. Oh no, it should be said that it was the pursuit of the fallen angel. Of course, this does not rule out the factor that the two were injured at the time, but there are still many doubts during this period. There is also the Clear Sky sect. Even if the old leader of the Clear Sky sect, Tang Chen, disappeared at the time, there is still a Clear Sky Douluo with a level of 95, that is, Tang Hao's father. Not to mention that there are several elders of the Clear Sky sect at the Soul Douluo level. With the attack performance of the Clear Sky Hammer, it is impossible to kill it without more than 5 titled Douluo strongmen going to hunt it down. No. Ling Yu's eyes suddenly changed. He looked at Tang Hao and asked hurriedly, how many titled Douluo masters were there when Hao Xianzong was hunting Kyank Sunji? Tang Hao raised his head and looked at him strangely, but still said, as far as I know, there should be only 3, one of whom is Kyank Sunji. Are there any titled Douluo above level 96? Ling Yu asked again hurriedly. Tang Hao thought for a while. There shouldn't be. According to my investigation, there were only 2 titled Douluo at level 95 and 1 Kyank Sunji at level 94. Ling Yu stood up suddenly. He thought of the reason why they did this. But this possibility made his brain buzz. If they did it, then the source of the evil soul masters on the mainland could be explained clearly. Hao Xianzong and Tang Hao didn't know, but he knew after watching some Douluo videos that Tang Chen was the king of slaughter in the Slaughter City. He was parasitized and controlled by the god of Rakshasa with a blood-red 9-headed bat king. After his consciousness sank, he became the king of slaughter. Their real goal is not to massacre the Haoshan sect from the beginning. Their goal is to seal off the Haoshan sect, or force the Haoshan sect to seal off the mountain, so as to prevent the Haoshan sect from appearing in the Slaughter City and using the Haoshan hammer, the martial spirit, to stimulate Tang Chen's consciousness. However, there is still a doubt, that is, why did they miss Tang Hao alone? Why did they let Tang Hao enter the Slaughter City? Ling Yu kept pacing on the ground, touching his chin with a thoughtful look. Tang Hao did not disturb him. Seeing him like this, he was also looking forward to whether the other party could find the purpose of these people from these clues. Ling Yu can now be sure that their purpose must be the Slaughter City, because only there are a large number of evil soul masters. Once these evil soul masters are released, they will definitely cause immeasurable losses and damage to the continent. And in order to release these evil soul masters, they must control the King of Slaughter, that is, Tang Chen. Only he has the method to enter the Hell Road, or to say, get out. Ling Yu turned to look at Tang Hao and continued to ask, what about the incident 12 years ago? Why did Kyank Sunji want to kill your wife? Tang Hao's face was very ugly, and he trembled and said tremblingly, I don't know. I took Yin to live in seclusion in a village at that time, and successfully witnessed the birth of Xiao-san on that day 12 years ago, but the rest of Tang Hao had already covered his cheeks with his hands, and 2 tear marks appeared on his face. Ling Yu fell into thinking again. After a while, his body shook violently, and his eyes showed an unbelievable light. I understand, Ling Yu murmured, and he finally figured it out. Tang Chen's cultivation is very high. Even if it is because of the parasitism of the blood-red 9-headed Bat King, it is undeniable that his strength is already the level of the first person under the guard level. So if they want to control each other, a strong attack is definitely not enough. This requires an opportunity, and this opportunity is Tang Hao. As long as he enters the Slaughter City, and uses the Clear Sky Hammer while using the breath of the martial soul to resonate with Tang Chen's own consciousness, his own consciousness will be entangled with the consciousness of the Bat King, and his strength will definitely drop greatly at that time. Once they have this opportunity, they will definitely counterattack at all costs to control Tang Chen. This is why they did not kill Tang Hao, but simply chose to let him go and let him enter the Slaughter City. He even felt that the reason why Tang Hao entered the Slaughter City during this period was probably because of the guidance of Kyank Sunji and the Evil Soul Master. As for the 100,000-year Soul Beast, Blue Silver Emperor Yin, He finally figured out the purpose of Kyank Sunji's doing this. Last year in the starred-out Great Forest, he found a piece of living gold under the ground. The breath of life contained in it was extremely rich. He didn't know what they needed these breaths of life for, but these things were definitely of great use to them. If they were not unaware of the existence of Emperor Yan in the starred-out Great Forest, they might really succeed. Then the matter is very clear. The Blue-Silver Emperor is most famous for its strong vitality. It can be said that it will not die. As long as there are blue-silver grass in this world, they will never die. It can be seen how strong the vitality of the Blue-Silver Emperor is. It is absolutely comparable to the gold of life. At that time, they definitely had not found the gold of life, otherwise there would be no such unnecessary means. So after learning about the existence of the Blue-Silver Emperor, Yin naturally became the primary target. This is also the main reason why Kyank Sunji wanted to hunt Yin. After thinking deeply about this series of things, Ling Yu had to admire the other party's foresight. The most important key point here is that Tang Chen is the king of killing. Only by understanding this can we understand why they chose to attack the Haoshan sect, and this is why they let Tang Hao go. From the first time they met Tang Hao, this plan may have been carried out. One link after another, every step of the plan is crucial. If it weren't for the fact that this is his second life and he knew that Tang Chen is the king of killing, he would never have thought that the reason why the Haoshan sect was in trouble was this. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Tang Hao's Plan. After figuring this out, Ling Yu, for some reason, instead of being extremely impatient, felt somewhat calm. Boy, just when he felt incredible, the voice of the sword spirit rang in his mind, "Don't make a fuss. The killing city you are thinking of is the territory of the two gods, Sharingan and Rakshasa God. Although we don't know what means they have escaped the side of the two gods in the god realm, once the evil soul masters release too much, these two will definitely sense it." Ling Yu nodded, but still asked in some confusion, "Then why didn't these two take action?" "That's the problem," the sword spirit said lightly. "The god realm is about to encounter a catastrophe. Maybe they have no intention of intervening. Of course, they may also drop a lot in the god's residence assessment. The most direct example is that your little lover, the Pope of the Spirit Hall, his god test difficulty is very likely to be greatly reduced." Ling Yu suddenly realized, and he said, "No matter how strong the Abyss Plane is, this is a conflict between a deep god king and a level 1 god. With such means alone, even if they can deceive them for a while, they will definitely not deceive them for a long time, not to mention based on recent conditions in Tang Hao's narration. At least several years have passed, and the two gods must have noticed something." After listening to the sword spirit's words, Ling Yu's calm heart was once again disturbed. "This is where the gods of the god realm think differently from you," the sword spirit continued. "What they are considering is to reduce the difficulty of the god test as compensation. This will not only enhance the top strength of Douluo continent, but also prevent no one from making effective stops when the Abyss Plane invades. It will also solve this disaster from the root. Once your lover successfully advances to the first level god contradiction and passes the god test, although the level of strength cannot immediately reach the level of the first level god contradiction, it is enough to clash with the Lord of the Abyss Plane." After saying that, he glanced at Ling Yu's somewhat tangled eyes, sighed and said, "Although this approach will cause many people to die in Douluo continent, it is not another way to solve the problem. After all, in such a world war, the most important thing is the competition of top combat power. Once the top combat power wins, other places will naturally fall apart." Ling Yu nodded. He certainly understood this truth, but every time he thought about the civilians on the mainland who died one by one because of this incident, he thought about Grandpa Yuguan's experience, the current rampant evil soul masters, and the victims who were in agony. Alice. Ling Yu sighed deeply. "Let it be. Even though I know his intentions are good, I still don't agree. As people who have received education in the Celestial Empire and been influenced by the Celestial Empire's culture for decades, the idea that everyone is equal, regardless of high or low, and life is priceless is engraved in everyone's mind." He understood that such sacrifices were necessary, but in order for Douluo continent to completely solve this problem, why couldn't they choose a more appropriate and complete solution? "Kid, What do you think? The sword spirit asked casually. Are you dissatisfied with the actions of the gods in the divine world? Ling Yu nodded and shook his head. All the unfavorable factors in the world are caused by the lack of ability of the parties involved. The reason they do this is because they are not strong enough and their abilities are not enough. And I will not be like this in the future. The sword spirit looked at Ling Yu in surprise, and then his eyes became soft and relieved. You're right, it's because they are not strong enough. It's because they are too restricted in doing things. While creating the rules, they are also restricted by the rules. How sad, the sword spirit said happily. So, boy, you must not be like this in the future. You must surpass them, surpass these pathetic gods. Achieve the highest, become the strongest. Of course, Ling Yu groaned. If I can't do it, it means that I'm just a man of this level. Ha ha ha. Hearing Ling Yu's words, the frontless sword spirit seemed very happy and laughed. Then I'll wait and see. After laughing, he looked at Ling Yu with relief, but Tang Hao looked at Ling Yu's aura changing, and his sharp and firm appearance, and asked in confusion, Hey, have you thought of anything? Ling Yu shook his head and said, I just thought of something. Ling Yu decided not to tell Tang Hao about this matter for the time being, otherwise, once he told him about this, it would be too much of a blow to him, making him immediately understand that he was just a chess piece that was manipulated by others at will. He didn't understand other people's plans until his wife died. This was too much of a blow to him. By the way, you haven't told me whether Jin's Unji is dead or not, Tang Hao said with a dull look. No, 12 years ago, A Yin sacrificed herself to me so that I could break through to the title Douluo. However, after Jin Zunji's martial soul underwent a major transformation, he degenerated into an evil soul master, which greatly increased his power. I could only barely fight him. What's more, I had to distract myself to protect the newly born mistress. Ling Yu asked, then why? Tang Hao interrupted him directly and said, but just when I couldn't hold on, Bibi Dong appeared. This woman who has disappeared since 20 years ago has already broken through to the title Douluo level as soon as she appeared. Thinking of this, Tang Hao was shocked. A title Douluo who is less than 30 years old. Just like you, a monster. He glanced at Ling Yu and said in a low voice, even if the two of us join forces, the opponent can still hold on. Although we finally joined forces to seriously injure him, he escaped. I guess he is not dead. Ling Yu nodded. What about you next? What are your plans? Tang Hao shook his head. Anyway, the evil soul masters and I have an irreconcilable hatred. I heard some time ago that several major sects and the Spirit Hall have joined forces to form an anti-evil soul master alliance. I plan to go and take a look. Ling Yu nodded in praise. This is also good. With such a powerful combat force joining, many people will feel much more relaxed. However, a few days ago, I heard that the Fire Leopard sect was wiped out. Do you know what happened? Tang Hao asked puzzledly. Logically speaking, the Fire Leopard sect is also a member of the Anti-Evil Soul Master Alliance. How could it be wiped out overnight? Humph, Ling Yu sneered. That's their own fault. A bunch of traitors. In times of crisis, they actually chose to be the running dogs of the evil soul masters. Who else can we destroy if not them? Tang Hao suddenly realized, but didn't say anything. Although the Fire Leopard sect was one of the 4 lower sects, in his eyes it was almost the same as one of the 4 affiliated sects of the Haoshan sect, and it didn't even have a title Douluo. Chapter 144, Shrek Gathering. Ling Yu bid farewell to Tang Hao, and all the doubts in his heart were answered. No wonder the old man Jin Daoli looked at him strangely every time he saw him. It turned out that he had a grudge against his son. Now he can be completely sure that the person who severely injured Jin's Unji, who had just entered the title Douluo 20 years ago, was himself. After severely injuring the other party, he took Bibi Dong and hid. It was not until 12 years ago that Bibi Dong chose to appear and help Tang Hao once. If he said that there was no hint from Bibi Dong, he would definitely not believe it. There are also abyss creatures. There must be a creature with extremely high IQ among them, which can come up with such a trick to deceive the world. After Tang Hao discovered Jin's Unji's dirty things, he immediately used the trick to force the Haoshan sect to close the mountain, guide Tang Hao into the slaughter city, and use the Haoshan Heimer martial spirit to cause the turbulence of Tang Chen's own consciousness, causing the blood-red nine-headed Bat King to greatly reduce the control of Tang Chen's body, so that they can take advantage of it. In this way, when they controlled Tang Chen, the king of slaughter, they also got the way out of the slaughter city, and the many evil soul masters inside were also rescued. No wonder the evil soul masters have been so rampant in the past 2 years. He was still wondering where these evil soul masters came from, but he didn't expect it to be the Slaughter City. Alice, Ling Yu was a little distressed. In fact, he should have thought of it earlier. At that time, he discussed the origins of these evil soul masters with Wu Fang Sword Spirit. Wu Fang Sword Spirit inferred that it was probably the help of the Abyss Plane. But now thinking back, even if they have this ability, it is absolutely a huge consumption of their energy to infect so many soul masters into evil soul masters. It is also mentioned that they help many evil soul masters break through the tidal Douluo, which requires even more energy. If the Abyss Plane consumes too much energy here, it will definitely delay the time of their arrival for them to build a space tunnel. Ling Yu's face was a little dull. When he thought about the way the gods of the God Realm handled this matter, and so many lives were about to die on this continent, he felt distressed. Many soldiers of the Spirit Hall are guarding this continent on the front line, but their families in the rear are being ravaged by evil spirit masters. Even if several major forces have now established the Anti-Evil Spirit Master Alliance, there are too many evil spirit masters and they are simply unable to cope with it. The many local tidal Douluo alone are enough to make them suffer, not to mention that there may be traitors like the Fire Leopard sect among them. It seems that I need to take a chance to go to the Anti-Evil Spirit Master Alliance when many forces gather. Ling Yu looked at the sky and said softly, I have the ability to perceive malicious intent, and this means of identifying traitors cannot be wasted. Also, the academy will also be moved in 2 days. Although Soto City is a large city on the mainland, there is no tidal Douluo here after all. Thinking of this, Ling Yu felt a little chilled by the actions of the two empires. Especially the Xiandao Empire. He was not prepared to replace this country, but after this incident, Ling Yu has decided to help Jin Ringsu become the new emperor of the Xiandao Empire. No matter how low this woman's IQ is, at least she is also a member of the Spirit Hall. With this premise, everything he wants to do in the future will be much simpler. Ling Yu walked towards the academy. When he came to the center of the venue again, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing had already woken up. Tang San was half crouching beside Xiao Wu, greeting her attentively. Seeing Ling Yu appear, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed with a light. Hey, why are you so strong? Xiao Wu stood up suddenly when she saw Ling Yu appear. Just now, the fat guy named Ma said that you are only 1 year older than us, but you can beat the Soul Saint. Tang San also nodded to Ling Yu with a guilty look in his eyes. His eyes were also a little puzzled, which made Ling Yu have some changes in his opinion of him. Yes, if his character can be maintained, for Tang Hao's sake, it is not impossible for him to help him. Nothing, just naturally stronger. Just better talent. Ling Yu waved his hand casually. Although you didn't last more than 10 rounds under my hands, but due to your fighting level and talent, you are also admitted. Hearing this, Xiao Wu, Tang San and Zhu Zhuqing smiled at the same time. But what? Hearing Ling Yu's tone change, Xiao Wu asked hurriedly. But the academy has something recently, and it's a good opportunity to tell you about it. Ling Yu looked at the three people and said softly, because the evil spirit masters are rampant on the mainland recently. After talking with Dean Flanders and many teachers, they all agreed that the academy should move to Xiandao City. After all, there are powerful tidal Douluo sitting there, and there can be some guarantee for safety issues. And the time is in 2 days. Tang San and Zhu Zhuqing nodded, but when Xiao Wu heard about the evil spirit masters, her face was obviously a little angry, and her eyes became a little red. Ling Yu saw all this, and his lips moved slightly. The next moment, Xiao Wu was shocked, and she looked at Ling Yu with a strange look. That's it. Ling Yu raised his hand to signal the three to follow him. Follow me. You can find a room here to stay for 2 days, and 2 days later, we will go to Xiandao City together. He led the three to several houses in the village and turned to look at them. Of course, if you don't want to go, you can also ask for it. You can leave by yourself. We won't stop you. If not, then you can choose a house. After saying that, he stood there, and seeing that the three had no intention of leaving, he turned around and walked back to his room. In the evening, Ling Yu finished his practice, walked out of the door, and called everyone out. So, we will leave here soon, and it just so happens that there are a few new classmates here today. I will treat everyone to a good meal in Soto City, just as a welcoming banquet for the three of them. Hearing Ling Yu's words, Ning Rongrong and Nair both smiled. Ma Hongjin and Oscar also said that the boss is generous. Only Dai Mubei kept staring at Zhu Zhuqing, with a bit of scrutiny and doubt in his eyes. On the contrary, Zhu Huqing looked at Daimyo with a bit of coldness, not looking at him with a good face at all. Daimyo looked at Zhu Huqing deeply, but he didn't say anything. Through the induction of his martial spirit, he already knew who this person was. Okay, if you are ready, let's go. Ling Yu waved to the few people and strode forward. Shrek, at this moment, gathered. Chapter 145 Heading to the far north. A month later, Xiandao City, Lanba Academy. Several figures were practicing in a simulated environment. As an academy invested and built by the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, it naturally had a simulated environment. Although the improvement here was not bad, it had almost no effect on Ling Yu. A month ago, he had already written a letter to the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Although Liu Erlong had not come out of retreat, Yu Luomian had already identified Ling Yu as his future son-in-law. Even if he was reluctant in his heart, he had no choice. As a father, he knew his little daughter's temperament best. He had persuaded her to go on a blind date many times before, but she rejected it all. He didn't expect that this meeting would bring such a talented and good son-in-law. He was just a little young. After reading the letter, the other party did not hesitate. It was just a college. What's more, this college was originally his daughter's, so it was natural to hand it over to the future son-in-law. After a few days of long journey, Ling Yu brought everyone from Shrek to the Blue Tyrant Academy in Xiandao City and successfully recruited all the teachers and students from Shrek. With Liu Erlong's token in hand and Ling Yu's appearance in the academy before, there were almost no students and teachers who didn't know him. So the process of joining was very smooth, without any twists and turns. On this day, Ling Yu felt that his soul power had reached level 46, ended his training, stood up and walked out of Liu Erlong's room. Now he has just turned 13, and his level has reached level 46. It seems that he can break through to Soul King before he turns 14. By then, the evil god bead in his ring can also be absorbed. This is a soul ring that can rival 100,000-year soul beast, which will definitely greatly increase his strength. It's time to go. Ling Yu looked at the few people who were practicing in the mimic environment not far away and whispered softly. Boy, have you decided? The voice of the sword spirit sounded at the right time. Think it over carefully, that is the lair of the evil soul master, and no one knows whether the other party is still there or not. What if you make a trip in vain and get yourself involved, then everything will be over. Ling Yu shook his head and said softly, no venture, no gain. If you want to become stronger, you must go. Didn't you say that only by going there can I have the opportunity to comprehend the mystery of the Earth Sword and improve my understanding of the Sky Sword to a higher level? That's what you said. But, okay, Ling Yu interrupted, when did you become so fussy? I have to go there, it's just a matter of time. It just so happens that I can try it out this time. It would be best if I can find the coordinates of the Abyss Plane, and make preparations for the future, and Danger wrote to me some time ago, saying that she has reached the 6th test of the Rakshasa God test. She is not far from fully accepting the inheritance of the throne. As Danger's man, how can I always stand behind a woman? Then I will become a joke. Hearing Ling Yu say this, the sword spirit of the edgeless sword sighed. Well, with me here, at least I can guarantee your safety, Tisk. Ling Yu curled his lips. Just you, it's no wonder Ling Yu is like this. Since he got the sword of the edgeless sword, he has been communicating with the sword spirit of the edgeless sword every day, and the bond between the two has gradually deepened. Ling Yu can indeed deeply feel the feelings of Wu Fen as both a teacher and a friend to him. The kind of elder-like comfort and expectation is the first time he has felt it so clearly since the death of the village chief grandfather. However, although the sword of the edgeless sword has taught and helped him a lot, it has never taken action. He doesn't believe the sword spirit's big talk. Boy, you are too much. The sword spirit's voice is a little annoyed. Humph, when the time comes, I will make you kneel down and worship me. You have no vision. Ling Yu didn't want to talk back to him. He also wanted to say hello to Nair, and then set off while it was still early. An hour later, Ling Yu walked out of the school gate. Looking at the reluctant eyes of Daimyo Bei, Nair, and Ningrongrong behind him, he waved to them and set off on his journey again. This time he had already chosen his target, which was the far north. This place is also known as a forbidden area for humans. Not only because there are very powerful soul beasts there, but also in terms of the density and richness of soul beasts, the Douluo continent cannot compare to the Sunset Forest except for Xingdao. There are soul beasts of 100,000 years there, and it is also the current base camp of the evil soul masters. As he walked, he recalled what the sword spirit had told him some time ago. When he accepted the initiation of the Wufang sword spirit, he had the honor to personally experience the memory of Wufang sword training and the creation of the heavenly sword. This made his understanding of the sword way improve sharply. According to Ling Yu's guess, except for the sword Douluo Chengxin, the title Douluo who can suppress him in the sword way, other soul masters, especially the sword martial soul masters, can hardly compare with him. In that memory, the most impressive thing for him was the beautiful little girl in the emerald green scorpion. After Wu Feng's introduction, he also understood the identities of these two. First of all, the emerald green scorpion was the overlord of the soul beasts in the far north, the ice scorpion that could compete with the titan snow demon ape. The control ability of the other party in the field of ice and snow was definitely second to none except for that little girl. In the entire far north, there were two major tribes, one was the titan snow demon ape, and the other was the ice scorpion. And that little girl. At the time when Wu Feng was there, the other party was already a soul beast of 100,000 years, and it was also a humanoid soul beast. Ice and Snow Girl. A snow elf born and raised in nature, her control over ice and snow was naturally at the top. According to Wu Feng's introduction, if the other party is still alive now, it is at least a soul beast with a cultivation of more than 500,000 years. This kind of soul beast, except for Di Don, who he had seen in the Xingdao Great Forest, is the first time he has heard of it. Ordinary 100,000-year-old soul beasts can already rival the 93rd level title Douluo. Super soul beasts like Titan Giant Ape and Azure Bull Python can even rival the 95th level Super Douluo after entering the 100,000-year-old cultivation. The 250,000-year-old three-headed Red Devil Mastiff Red King is already comparable to the 97th level title Douluo. I really don't know how strong the 500,000-year-old Ice Snow Girl is. At least she can defeat the 98th level title Douluo. After all, the soul power strength and concentration of soul beasts are higher than those of soul masters of the same level, and their physical bodies are also stronger, but their abilities are not as varied as those of soul masters. While thinking about this information, Ling Yu walked quickly towards the far north with a Wufang sword on his back. This trip, especially, is likely to go deep into the base camp of the evil soul master. If you are not careful, you may suffer a catastrophic disaster. By the way, kid, if you don't spend much time on the trip to the far north this time, you must go to the Slaughter City and the Lost Grand Canyon next. These two places are places where the gods are inherited. Chapter 146 Ice City. The inheritance of the throne of God. Ling Yu asked in surprise. I know about the Slaughter City, which is where the Azure God King selects his successor, but are you sure there is a throne of God on the Mysterious Canyon? He had practiced in the Mysterious Canyon a few years ago, although it was only the outer layer, but he did not feel any other breath. You mean the restricted area there? Ling Yu suddenly remembered a story recorded in the Spirit Hall. Hundreds of years ago, two title Douluo of the Spirit Hall went to explore the restricted area of the Mysterious Canyon, but except for a few thunderous sounds, the two never came out again. That's it, Wu Feng said seriously. I once felt a trace of the breath of God there. According to my judgment, it is at least a first-level god. Anyway, go to these places where the gods inherit the throne and get more benefits. Anyway, you won't suffer any loss. Ling Yu nodded, without saying much, remembering these two places in his mind, and continued to walk towards the far north according to the direction on the map. The Sharingan Empire is vast, and there is also an important city in the northernmost part near the far north. Ice City. The main purpose is to prevent the frequent disturbances of soul beasts in the far north, and the frequent appearance of evil soul masters recently. The Anti-Evil Soul Master Alliance even sent two title Douluo to guard here, but the most chilling thing is not the rampage of evil soul masters, but the fact that under such circumstances, the royal family of the Sharingan Empire actually ignored it and did not send any more people. Ling Yu sat on a tree trunk and looked at the map in his hand. It has been almost a week since he set out from Xiandao City. Because there was no carriage, his travel speed was not very fast. In this week, he only walked about one-third of the distance. However, according to his guess, he should encounter some evil soul masters on the way to the far north, but a week has passed, and he has not even encountered the figure of an evil soul master. Ling Yu picked up a skewer of meat and ate it with relish. The 3 Magatama Sharingan has become normal during this period and has basically never been closed. Now, Under the influence of the two Dragon Balls, his mental power has expanded from an original range of only 1,500 meters to 2,000 meters. That's not right. Ling Yu felt the aura within the range of perception, and there was no trace of any evil spirit master. Could it be that they all retreated? Did the spirit hall send a message saying that there were many traces of evil spirit masters on the road from Shiandao to the far north recently? Ling Yu felt all the slightest movement within the range, and soon, he jumped down from the tree trunk, threw away the bamboo stick in his hand, and continued to walk forward. A week later, a huge city appeared in front of Ling Yu. The whole city was blue and white, like ice in the winter. This is the Ice City. Ling Yu looked at the city wall in front of him that was dozens of feet high, standing tall, and a sense of heaviness emanated from it. The ones guarding here should be the Sword Douluo Chenzin of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile Sect and the leader of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, Yu Yuanzin. Feeling the two dazzling auras in the city that were as dazzling as the sun, Ling Yu had already accurately sensed the exact location of the two. There are 3 cities on the edge of the far north, forming a triangle that covers the far north. There were many soul beast riots in the far north, which caused great harm to the civilians and soul masters here. In the early days of the founding of the Shiandao Empire, 3 cities were built here to prevent such things from happening again. Ice City, Ice and Snow City, and Winter City. The one closest to the far north is the Ice City in front of us, which is also the most important and solid one of the 3 cities. Because once this city is breached by soul beasts, it is difficult for the other 2 cities to stop the attack of soul beasts. The range is too wide, so the Ice City in front of us is crucial. The 3 cities form a horn, connected head to tail, and reinforce each other. In addition, the far north is now invaded by evil soul masters, and the anti-evil soul master alliance has sent several powerful tidal Douluo to guard here. Ice City is guarded by Sword Douluo and Thunder Douluo. Ice and Snow City is guarded by the Wuhan Hall's Dragon Douluo, and Winter City is guarded by Kyanjin Douluo. These 2 are twins, both level 96 Super Douluo, and they cooperate very well. What's more, these 2 have a big move, the Wuhan Fusion skill. Danger said that the martial soul fusion skills of these 2 worshippers are different from those of Juya and others. The latter is a controlled type martial soul fusion skill, while the former is an attack type, and the degree of compatibility is extremely high. Ling Yu carried the Wufang sword on his back and looked at the majesty of the city for a few more times. After the inspection by the soldiers, he strode in. He looked at the residents in the city who were wearing thick fur coats because of the remote location and cold climate. They sold all kinds of soul beast skins and meats and various medicinal herbs in the streets and alleys. Although it is not as prosperous as Shiandao City and Wuhan City, it has its own flavor. If I have to say, this place should be more rough and bold. The customs are also more open, without the sense of restraint in big cities, and more casual. It's a bit like the difference between the north and the south in the previous life. The moment Ling Yu walked into the city, 2 obscure mental powers had passed through his body. He knew that these were 2 tidal Douluo who were investigating evil soul masters. Hey, in a mansion on the left side of the city, an old man with white hair and a handsome face sitting cross-legged on a mat couldn't help but say, "Why is this kid here? Isn't he in Landba Academy in Shiandao City? Forget it. Anyway, I and the old dragon are here, and this kid's strength is also very good, there shouldn't be any problems." Thinking of this, Jian Douluo Chengxin stopped talking, closed his eyes and continued to check with his mental power. At the same time, in an inconspicuous small house on the right side of the city, a burly old man with white hair and beard, an old face but muscular body opened a pair of blue eyes, and a few faint electric lights flashed from the old man's eyes. "Why is it this guy?" the old man said in a strange way. "Isn't this nonsense? Why did he come to the far north? He is really not afraid of death? Are you really not afraid that Erlong will become a widow? Or are you more confident in your own strength?" Shaking his head, the old man continued to do his work. In this extraordinary period, he couldn't make any mistakes. After Ling Yu felt the 2 mental fluctuations disappear, he didn't pay too much attention to them, but walked straight forward. He always felt that this time the group of beasts were planning something again, and the planning would definitely not be small. Just when he was still thinking about what the other party's intentions were, several crisp and beautiful voices came from the front. Chapter 147 Shianshu Girls Group. "Sister, what kind of soul beast do you want to hunt this time?" A pretty girl in a blue short skirt and long blue hair that fell to her waist said to a slightly older girl next to her who looked a bit similar to the girl. The girl's tone was crisp and gentle yet playful. In the cold weather in the north, she was still able to wear a blue short skirt, as if she could not feel the cold around her. "You we are outside, put away your temper, otherwise your mother will blame you for your recklessness." The older woman frowned and looked at the other person, but there was no blame in her eyes, but instead she was full of doting. I know," the girl stuck out her tongue at her sister, and her playful look seemed to add a bit of warmth to the cold air. Seeing the two sisters laughing and playing, several girls following behind them also covered their mouths and laughed brightly. Ling Yu stood aside, looking at the girls coming towards him. They didn't look very old. The youngest girl looked only 1 or 2 years older than Ling Yu, and the oldest was probably only about 18 or 19. The monotonous color of the ice city, coupled with the cold air, attracted the attention of most of the male creatures in the city after these girls appeared, and they all showed their amazement, admiration, and so on. Just as the girls were laughing and playing, and chatting, the youngest girl in the girl group, called Juir, who had just started talking, accidentally caught a glimpse of Ling Yu's figure. When the girl saw his appearance and posture, she should have been as playful as always. In less than 10 seconds, she smoothed her clothes with both hands, and suddenly took out a mirror in her hand to look at herself, sorted out her hair that was messed up by the cold wind, and coughed a few times. Then, she walked towards Ling Yu with a ladylike pace. Feeling this scene, Ling Yu shook his head helplessly. Now that he is 13 years old, he really looks like some 16 or 17-year-old youths, and his height has exceeded 1.8 meters. With a monkey-like back and wasp waist, a straight and slender body, long black hair casually draped over his shoulders, eyes as black as the starry sky, and especially that handsome face that was almost inhumane, he naturally knew how much killing power and attraction he had for some girls. Perhaps seeing the girls' actions, the girls who were supposed to continue laughing and discussing in the back also looked at Ling Yu. The next moment, several sounds of gasps suddenly rang out around them. Hiss, this man is so scary. A girl wearing a white short skirt, with a pair of straight and slender long legs, was so conspicuous and outstanding among the girls, and her tall figure was far ahead of the girls. The first time she saw Ling Yu, the tall and long-legged girl gasped, "There is such a handsome man in this world." Hearing the words of their good sisters, the others nodded involuntarily. However, when they saw that the girl in the blue skirt was actually one step ahead of them and walked towards the young man, they exchanged glances at the same time, revealing a look that they would never let the other party eat alone. After exchanging glances, the girls hurriedly chased forward. For a moment, the fragrance of the girl's virginity circulated in this not-so-big alley. The girl in the blue skirt walked to Ling Yu's side, with a little blush on her face, and said embarrassedly, "Can I ask your name?" After saying that, before Ling Yu could reply, she introduced herself first. "My name is Shui Yuir, from Xianshu College in Xianshu City, 14 years old this year, single, martial soul dolphin, 32nd level soul master." Ling Yu looked at her with a little surprise, looking at the expectant eyes in her eyes, slightly opened his mouth and was about to introduce himself, and a few sweet voices came from behind the girl. "Hello, my name is Zhu Wu, 18 years old this year, also from Xianshu College, martial souls Ian Wu Zuduan, 39th level soul master." Ling Yu, who was about to speak, looked at the short-haired girl who suddenly appeared in front of him. The other party had short black hair, a slightly pale face, a tall and hot figure, especially a pair of long legs that were extremely conspicuous, so he couldn't help but look at it a few more times. And me, my name is Yu Harao, I'm 17 years old, level 38 soul master, my name is Shen Liu, my name is Chu Rushu." Ling Yu looked at the several beautiful girls who suddenly appeared in front of him. Although none of them was as pretty as Na or Rong, their outstanding looks were still very eye-catching. At this time, a gentle voice, like soft water, came from behind the very young girl. "My name is Shui Binger, martial soul ice phoenix, 16 years old this year, level 40 soul master." "Hello." He looked at the girl who was obviously the center of the girls, with long blue hair draped over her shoulders and a soft and beautiful face. Among the girls, only Shui Yuir and Zhu Wu at the beginning could be compared. Their figures were not tall, but every part seemed to be just right. Shui Yuir saw that several sisters came to compete for beauty and pouted a little unhappy. Seeing this, Ling Yu smiled. "Hello, my name is Ling Yu, I have a martial soul Sharingan. I am 13 years old this year, and I am a level 46 soul master. What? And when Ling Yu introduced his level and age, the girls couldn't believe it and looked at him in surprise. You are only 13 years old this year, you are a level 46 soul master. Two surprised voices, after hearing Ling Yu's voice fell, Shui Yuer and Zhu Wu quickly asked. He looked at the two girls' different concerns about him. Shui Yuer was most concerned about her age. When she heard that she was only 13 years old, she showed an expression of finished. Zhu Wu was the opposite. She originally looked indifferent, but after hearing Ling Yu's level, her eyes instantly became hot. The same thing happened to Shui Binger behind him. She looked at Ling Yu with a bit of brilliance and wisdom. It was obvious that she guessed Ling Yu's identity. However, Ling Yu had no intention of hiding it. As an important member of the Anti-Evil Soul Master Alliance, the Shui family of Xianshu City had never opposed the opinions of the Spirit Hall and the three upper sects. The only two Soul Douluos and several Soul Saints in the family were all sent out to help various places to hunt down evil Soul Masters. At this time, it was very rare to be able to take this step. What's more, he was extremely sensitive to malicious intent. Among these people, except Shui Yuer, they were just curious about him, not like the former. From their eyes, it can be seen that this is a girl who is obsessed with handsome boys. Ling Yu nodded to Shui Yuer and Zhu Wu, and kept a gentle smile on his face. Although these people, except for Shui Binger who has better talents, the others can only be evaluated as not bad, but after all, they dared to come to the far north at this time. It can be seen that although these girls are soft, beautiful, and charming on the surface, they are all tough and strong women in their hearts. Chapter 148, Into the Far North. You are younger than me, why is that? Shui Yuer had a sad expression on her face. Ling Yu was a little confused by her look. What happened? I am young and I offended you? Seeing Ling Yu's expression, Shui Binger hurriedly said, don't mind. This is her personality. She likes handsome boys, but the premise is that they are stronger than him and older than her, because she likes the feeling of being taken care of. Don't you think so, Yuer? Hearing her sister's voice, Shui Yuer regained her ladylike appearance. She turned around and looked at Ling Yu embarrassedly. Sorry. As she said that, she stuck out her pink tongue again, with a playful look on her face. Ling Yu waved his hand and breathed a sigh of relief. This is good. If she pounced on him like Ning Rongrong, he really didn't know how to deal with it except to avoid it. Are you here to hunt soul beasts? Ling Yu changed the subject and said, don't you know that this is the lair of evil soul masters? How dare you come to this place with only a few of you? Zhu Wu looked at Ling Yu with fiery eyes and said hurriedly, of course we know this, but this time because our captain, oh, that's Binger, she has reached level 40 and needs to obtain a soul ring. Moreover, this time our dean, Binger and Yuer's mother, a soul Douluo, is leading us. If we are careful, it shouldn't be a big deal. Shui Yuer also nodded and said, yes. We will only search on the periphery this time, and Mom will go to the city to find Jian Douluo as an insider. In a critical moment, the other party will help us. Ling Yu nodded and looked at Shui Binger on the side. The talent of this girl is outstanding even in Shrek. If Ning Rongrong hadn't taken the Kilo Tulip, she wouldn't be able to beat the other party, and Zhu Xiuqing couldn't do it either. The whole Wu she saw in the Kibao glazed sect last time was also inferior to her. Only Xiao Wu, a 100,000-year-old soul beast, could be better than her. It's a good talent to be able to reach the soul sect at the age of 16. But just as he was about to say goodbye to these girls, two figures suddenly landed from the sky. Ling Yu, boy, I'll give you a task. Hearing the faint voice of the sword Douluo, Ling Yu knew the other party's intention. He wanted to refuse, but then he thought, this is not an opportunity to go deep into the far north. He watched Chen Xin step on the long sword and land from the sky, and glanced at the other party, a mature and beautiful woman who looked about 30 years old. This should be the dean of Xianshu College, a level 84 soul Douluo, Shui Wuxin. Seeing that Ling Yu did not refuse, Jian Douluo said directly, this is the head of the Shui family in Xianshu City, a soul Douluo level strong man. This time they are going to the far north to hunt soul rings. Seeing that Ling Yu did not respond, Chen Xin continued, this time you accompany them to hunt soul rings. I will meet you outside Hanbing City. Don't be too far away. Once I find that there are top evil soul masters going to attack you, I will take action immediately. Ling Yu nodded, okay, I know. Seeing that the two men, one old and one young, had already discussed it, Shui Wuxin said with some distress. Senior Jian Douluo, isn't this too ridiculous? The other party is just a teenager, how can he help us? Hearing the woman's words, Shui Binger and Shui Yuer also nodded, although they admitted that Ling Yu's talent was very strong. And it could even be said that he was the most talented soul master they had ever seen. But no matter how strong his talent was, he had not grown up after all. How could a soul master help a soul Douluo? Chen Xin didn't say anything, but just looked at Ling Yu strangely. The meaning in his eyes was very clear. Boy, show your skills quickly. Don't you see anyone questioning you? Ling Yu glanced at him helplessly, closed his eyes and opened them again. The three Magatama Sharingan appeared instantly, and a strong momentum was controlled by him around several people. At the moment of feeling this powerful evil momentum, Shui Wuxin's face changed drastically, opened her rosy little mouth, and her face was full of disbelief. Several girls in the Shianshu girl group were also shocked by this breath. Several girls' legs became weak, cold sweat appeared on their foreheads, and the huge momentum pressure made several people have the urge to kneel down. Huh? Ling Yu put away his momentum and looked at the beautiful woman and girls in front of him, who suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, feeling a little helpless. If he entered alone, the concealment and safety would be very good, but with these burdens, it might not be the case. At that time, if the evil soul master really sent out the powerful title Douluo, it would be too difficult for him to take care of them during the battle. Ahem, Jian Douluo also felt the resentment in Ling Yu's eyes. Without saying anything, he stepped on the long sword and flew into the sky towards the mansion. Ling Yu looked at Shui Wuxin and said, Dean Shui, let's go. It's still morning. Let's get out of the city as soon as possible to help your daughter hunt for spirit rings. Otherwise, it will be too late and the risk factor will be higher. Shui Wuxin was still immersed in shock, astonishment, and mixed emotions. She even doubted her life. She had been practicing for decades, but she couldn't even compare to a teenager. This feeling was very uncomfortable. Especially in a family like Shianshu where women are supreme, the Shui family has always been headed by powerful women. They put the dignity of women being no less than that of humans at the highest level, and look forward to one day being able to do what Bibi Dong did, to rule the world and dominate the continent as a woman. But now, the young man in front of her who was only in his teens has hit the dignity and confidence that she has been insisting on for a long time. Okay, Shui Wuxin agreed in confusion and followed Ling Yu towards the city gate. The girls at the back had not recovered from their complicated emotions. Today's incident had shattered their worldview. They had never thought that someone younger than them could be so powerful. Isn't this stronger than my mother? Shui Yuer swallowed her saliva and said with some stammering, who is the other party? He is so strong. I have never felt such a strong aura from my mother. Shui Binger nodded solemnly. She also felt deeply about her sister's words. Only Zhu had a strong and fiery look in her eyes. She looked at Ling Yu's back as if she wanted to melt him. The girls quickly followed Ling Yu's pace. After walking out of the city gate, they looked at the white world in front of them, glanced at Ling Yu in the front, followed him, and strode forward. Chapter 149 Shui Binger's Choice. Ling Yu led a few people to enter the Arctic ice field. The structure of the Arctic is not very complicated. The outer layer is a flat snowfield, with tall peaks like canyons on both sides. The inner layer has fewer snowfields and snow-capped mountains. That is the territory of the Titan snow demon ape. There is also the deepest part, which is almost a forbidden area for humans. However, according to Wu Feng's memory, the Ice Scorpion clan and the Ice Snow Girl live there. It can be said that although this is also a large gathering place for soul beasts, it is relatively simple compared to the complex terrain of the starred-out Great Forest. Along the way, several people did not talk. They thought that he was just a peer. Even if he was very talented, he was still within the tolerance range. There would be no obstacles to talking. But when everyone felt that the young man in front of them, who was not to be judged by appearance, actually contained such a powerful power, their views on him gradually changed. Even a cheerful and lively girl like Shui Yuer was a little odd at this time, and could no longer talk freely as before. The outer layer of the far north is ahead. Soul beasts will appear, and of course, there is a greater possibility that evil soul masters will appear. Just as the few people were still immersed in their own thoughts, Ling Yu suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at the few people behind him and said, when the time comes, Dean Shui, please take them to hunt soul beasts. I will protect your safety from behind. Once a strong evil soul master appears, I will take care of those above Soul Douluo. and you will take care of those below Soul Douluo. How about that? Shui Wuxin looked at the other party in a daze, wanting to refute, but after thinking for a while, he nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Ling Yu didn't say anything, and continued to go deeper into the snowfield with a few people. By the way, Shui Binger, do you have a choice of soul beast this time? Ling Yu said to the girl behind him as he walked. I've seen the distribution of soul beasts here in the spirit hall, and I have a general impression of the situation here. If you have a target soul beast, I should be able to point out a direction for you, and then we can just look for it according to the direction. Shui Binger raised her head, looked at the other person's expressionless handsome face, and said softly, of course I have, because my martial soul is the Ice Phoenix, and the age of my target soul beast this time is about 4,500 to 5,000 years old. As she spoke, she put her hand on her chin and said, as for the target, there are two. The first is the Ice Crystal Beast. This soul beast has good mental power and should be able to provide me with a very good mental control soul skill. The second is the Ice Armored Earth Dragon. This soul beast belongs to the sub-dragon species, and its attack power and explosive power are very good. It should be able to provide me with a good attack-type soul skill. Ling Yu nodded. In that case, then let's go here. He stretched out his hand and pointed diagonally to the left. Ice-armored earth dragons don't live in groups. Although there are many such soul beasts in the far north, they are relatively rare compared to the former. But the ice crystal beasts are different. They live in groups. They have good mental strength and defense, and are a relatively strong group in the far north. Ling Yu waved to the people behind him and said, this kind of soul beast has good combat ability. They look like bears and like to live in forests near rivers. The place I'm referring to is the very famous frozen forest in the far north. Although it's not large, it is one of their gathering places. We should be able to find their traces there. Hearing what the other party said, the people behind nodded. Although they had some understanding of the location of the ice crystal beasts, they didn't know as much as the Spirit Hall, and they were not so sure. After all, the Spirit Hall of all generations has been the top force on the continent, with many titled Douluo, so naturally there have been more explorations of soul beasts on the continent. To be honest, I don't recommend you to come to the far north at this time, Ling Yu continued to say to the people behind him. The situation on the continent is turbulent now, and the far north is the base camp of evil soul masters. Although it is rich in ice soul beasts, the Starred-out Great Forest and Sunset Forest also contain some ice soul beasts, but there are not as many types as here. At this time, you should pay more attention to your own safety. Even if you can't find particularly suitable soul beasts in the two places of Star-Dao Sunset, as long as the age is right and the soul skills provided are not bad, why not make a proper compromise? Shui Binger blinked her blue eyes and looked at Ling Yu with a gentle smile. Thank you very much for your advice, but as the future successor of the Shui family, every soul ring and soul skill must be the most suitable, and the increase in my strength must also be the most powerful, not to mention that my martial soul is the Ice Phoenix. She shook her head and said, the Ice Phoenix martial soul has been destined to have every soul ring of this martial soul be the most suitable since the day the Shui family appeared. And the control of the ice element must also be the strongest. Ling Yu had some confusion on his face, and seeing him like this, Shui Wuxin began to explain, the Shui family has always been headed by women. It's not that we look down on men, but the family rules of the Shui family are that women are not inferior to men. The purpose left by the ancestors of the Shui family is to let the Shui family have a title Douluo, but unfortunately, hundreds of years have passed, and the highest level cultivator in the Shui family is only a level 89 soul Douluo. But this generation has Binger, the most talented child in the history of the Shui family. She has an innate soul power of level 9, and possesses the top East martial soul, the Ice Phoenix, which is a beast martial soul that is not inferior to the true dragon martial soul of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, Shui Wuxin said with a firm look in his eyes. So, no matter what, our Shui family must do our best to let Binger become a title Douluo in this generation, not only because this is our long-cherished wish, but also because Binger's talent is indeed the most likely. To achieve this goal, we must be strict in choosing soul rings. Ling Yu nodded in understanding. So that's what he said. It's already this time. The far north is now a restricted area on the mainland. In the past, when the evil soul masters were not so rampant, the soul masters on the mainland would only wander around the periphery at most. Only those who were capable and powerful enough to go deep into the inner layer, like the title Douluo of the Spirit Hall, would choose to enter the inner layer. Now, this place is occupied and invaded by evil soul masters, making it a completely forbidden area for most humans. Even in the outer layer, except for the strong ones above the soul saint level who will find an opportunity to explore, the others basically hide as far away as possible. However, this group of young girls came to the extreme north to obtain soul rings under the leadership of Soul Douluo Shui Wuxin. So that's how it is. But even so, isn't it enough to bring Schwabinger? Why do we have to bring these students who are only soul venerables? Such low-level combat power is simply cannon fodder here. Chapter 150 Encounter with the Evil Spirit Master. After looking at the girls behind him for a few times, he didn't ask directly. Anyway, since Shui Wuxin brought them here, then let him bring them. The other party must have his own considerations. Ling Yu comforted himself in this way, but he didn't know that the girls gathered together, not Shui Wuxin's arrangement, but their own choice. Everyone walked on the ice field. The far north was indeed the place with the lowest temperature, but the temperature outside was also several tens of degrees below zero. It was very difficult for ordinary soul masters of the soul sect and soul king level to stay here for a long time. However, because these girls were all ice attribute soul masters, they were born with strong resistance to cold and ice elements. Even a girl like Shui Yuir, who was wearing a short skirt, could still move freely here. This was the influence of the martial soul attribute. Ling Yu kept his Sharingan open, and everything within a range of 2 kilometers in diameter was sensed by him. Just when the people behind him looked serious and nervous, Ling Yu suddenly stopped and turned to signal Mizuno with his eyes. Seeing the signal in the other party's eyes, Mizuno nodded, indicating that it was no problem. Several girls looked at Ling Yu with doubtful expressions, not knowing what he was going to do at this time. But the next moment, Ling Yu quickly formed seals with his hands in front of his chest and slapped the ground fiercely. Earth escape, earthquake core. As Ling Yu moved, the ground suddenly rose rapidly in a place 100 meters away, and several hidden and extremely concealed auras began to appear. The other party has noticed it. Go all out and kill them. A man looked in the direction of Ling Yu and the others, and saw the many girls behind Ling Yu, with countless greed in his eyes. Ha ha ha. There are so many women this time, and they are all beautiful. Boss, we must capture them all this time. We will have some fun first, and then hand them over to the elder. When the time comes, he will definitely reward us. Yes, boss, none of these people can be let go. As Ling Yu took action, a huge stone rose up at the moment, and several evil soul masters on the stone also began to summon their martial soul rings, and everyone showed a greedy and obscene smile on their face. Hearing the voices of these evil soul masters and taking a look at the strength of the other party, the girls of the Shinshu girl group turned pale. Only Shui Wuxin's eyes were very cold and fierce, wishing to kill the other party directly. 3 soul saints and 5 soul emperors. Ling Yu shook his head and said nothing. The 6-pointed star kaleidoscope in his eyes appeared directly. Amaterasu. Ling Yu raised his head and looked at the 8 people in front of him. His pupils suddenly glared. The next moment, black flames ignited on the bodies of several evil soul masters at the same time. Ah! What is this? These flames cannot be extinguished. The black flames directly enveloped the evil soul masters, and the terrifying high temperature directly burned the 5 soul emperors to death, leaving only the 3 soul saints still struggling. But with the other party's painful screams, they could only watch the flames on their bodies completely devour their bodies and burn them to ashes. In less than half a minute, the 3 soul saints and 5 soul emperors were killed directly, without even a slag left. Gurgle. Seeing Ling Yu's mighty power, Shui Wuxin and several girls in the back all swallowed their saliva, and everyone looked at him with indescribable shock and horror. Such strength? Are you really just a soul sect? Shui Wuxin looked at the way Ling Yu killed all the opponents with just one move. To be honest, such a scene was too shocking. Several girls in the back also looked at Ling Yu's red evil eyes, coupled with his extremely handsome face. At this moment, the figure of the opponent was deeply engraved in their minds. Huh? Ling Yu exhaled. Although his mental power was somewhat consumed, for him now, these consumptions recovered in a few minutes. With the transformation of his mental power by the gold of life and 2 Dragon Balls, and the blessing of his own physical body's recovery ability, although his current soul power storage is not as good as that of a titled Douluo, in terms of real endurance, ordinary soul Douluos cannot compare. Looking at the front still burning and releasing terrifying high-temperature black flames, Ling Yu once again controlled his eyes to extinguish the flames. Let's go, Ling Yu said casually, You will see these scenes often in a while. After all, what is most lacking here is evil spirit masters. Everyone nodded. At this moment, they would no longer treat each other as peers. Such strength was unprecedented in their lives. Even Shui Wuxin couldn't do it. Everyone followed Ling Yu and continued to walk forward. Next, Dean Shui, you stand in the front and I will hide as a surprise attack. Shui Wuxin nodded. Naturally, she would not have any objection to Ling Yu's statement. Ling Yu began to make seals on his hands. According to his current means, ninjutsu can only be used as an auxiliary means. Shadow clone technique, white smoke flashed, and a clone of Ling Yu appeared beside him. Then, he began to make seals again. Earth escape, Iwakage technique, his body began to sink, gradually going deeper into the rock layer on the ground. Seeing Ling Yu's special and strange means, the girl said that they had learned something new. There is such an ability, and the other party has not released the spirit ring. Shui Wuxin led everyone to continue walking forward. Her face was serious and solemn. They had just come in, and they had encountered an evil soul master of the soul saint level. If they continued walking, they would definitely encounter a higher level. However, when they thought of Ling Yu under the ground, they felt more confident for some reason. They waved to Shui Binger and the others behind them and started their journey again. Half an hour later, when a white forest appeared in front of them, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. In this half an hour, they encountered another wave of evil soul masters, but this time there were only 4 soul saints. Under Ling Yu's sneak attack from the ground, only 2 sword lights flashed, and 4 heads flew up. This also made them see once again that the opponent not only had strange abilities, but also had powerful swordsmanship. I really don't know how he practiced. Shui Yuer looked at Ling Yu's clone on the side, with a few stars in her eyes, and she was almost sticking her face directly to the other person. She's 1 year younger than me, but she's stronger than her mother. Shui Wuxin glanced at her little daughter and ruffled her hair. Let's go in and help Binger hunt for spirit rings. This time, thanks to her help, otherwise, it would be difficult for me to get here unscathed. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.